Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
Recording! I am not too loud for once, but because I'm sleepy. I think this should start with...
Dum, 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 dum.
Is that you doing the Batman theme?
Yeah.
Dum, 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 dum.
Where is Batman? Where is Batman? There is Batman. That's all I had in my head when I was watching it.
Ave Maria!
But what I like about that is Michael Giacchino uses that in the Riddler's theme.
Does he?
Yeah, there's like little bits of it in there and stuff.
I just thought of Community so much. There's a bit in Community when the character sings it. What about like we get all these Batman themes and people doing Batman music and stuff like that, and the new composers come on, and this one I think this really sounds like a cartoon theme. Like it sounds like it could be like Batman the animated series or something.
Yeah.
When is someone just going to do their riff on the 1960s Batman theme in a blockbuster? Batman, the Batman, the Batman.
Well, it sounds like we're already into it.
Corinne. This is Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast where we have been on a hiatus for a ridiculous amount of time and cannot do this anymore. But we're actually on a venture to watch a century cinema decade by decade, year by year. And I'm one half of your hosts, Liam Delaney, and with me is...
And I'm Oliver Jones. Yeah, we had like a long sit down. We were venturing on for quite well, and then we just needed a good 3-month long sit down.
A good 3-month sit down, yeah.
To catch our breath.
Just a nap. I've just been napping for 3 months. Oh, it's ridiculous because we originally paused because I was moving house. I had a new job. I was moving house.
But you moved to a whole new city.
Yeah, I moved across the country.
And yeah. I've just spent 3 months picking plasticine out my fingernails. That's about it, really.
How many music videos have you done?
For who? Them or in general?
General. The last 3 months.
Oh, in the last 3 months? I've only done 2. No, 3 actually. I've done 3.
I thought it was 3, yeah. Video a month.
Well, no. I started 1 in October, finished that in November. Then in December to now, I've done 2. One was a very simple one that was just like a week job, and then the other one was like a 3-month life dominating job. But it's my own fault because I came up with the concept and everything, so I've got no one else to blame other than me. So
this is a story we've heard 1,000 times, isn't it? I think. I had this concept for a video and then made it as hard as possible for me to do.
Yeah. Well, no, like in my head, I'm like, okay, there's no space adventure in this. There's no hardly any green screen. Blah 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 blah. I'm trying to keep it really simple, but my simple was I built every single room of a house.
Oh my
multiple
God.
versions of characters and about 8 characters where normally I have 2 and stuff. And so in trying to make it simple, much simpler, I somehow made it harder. I don't know how that's even possible, but I managed to achieve it.
That's the Ollie style. That's what we've all come to love. So
and sadly, I didn't have Brandon helping me on this one, and he was helping my friend in Australia on his instead. Bastard.
Stabbed in the back. Turncoat.
Yeah.
And so that means you had to do all the comping yourself as well.
Yeah, so it was kind of like instead of just doing like straight on animation for a month and a half, I was like animating for a bit, then editing, compositing, and going back to animation and blah. But it kind of broke it up a little bit, so that was nice. But
yeah, that's true. So I guess it wasn't just like continuously like plasticine day after day after day for 3 months.
So now I've cleared everything out, and now I'm reorganizing my whole office, and I've bought all new office equipment, and I've been putting all that together and stuff. So that's been fun.
So when can we see the music videos?
Well, the one that I did in October, November, that's been out for ages. That's for a band called Tritonal.
Okay.
Then Christie's is out now. Christie's, what's her surname? Christy Reeves. So Christy Reeves. Her video Thor is out now. and then the Porn Crumpets video is out, I'm guessing, sometime in April. I don't know. Their new album's out in April, so I'm guessing it'll be around just before
It'll
that.
probably drop with that, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
excited.
tell us about your new digs then.
Well, so I moved from kind of the Welsh border across the country and down to the south coast to Brighton, which is really nice. I really like Brighton. It's a really nice place to live. It's much busier than Ledbury. Like, it's been a while since I actually lived in a city, a long while actually. I haven't lived in a city since I lived in Doha, and so that was like 2015, 2016 I left.
Yeah, because even when you lived in Birmingham, we were in the suburbs, so we weren't in like a.
That's true. Yeah.
You know. Leicester, you were kind of were you near the city then, or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were right in the city. Yeah. Northampton, I was right in the city. Don't recommend living in Northampton City. But yeah, so like when I got back from Qatar, we were living in like villages and farms and small towns. So it's been a bit different, kind of coming all the way to live in a big city again. But Brighton's kind of like deceptive. Like Brighton is a big city, but actually it's really quite tiny. It's really actually quite a small city, and you can easily walk across it. Like, so I'm kind of up in Hove, but I can walk down to like the beach in 20 minutes or something, if that, which is just wonderful, really, especially when the summer comes. And it's starting to get warmer now, so that's really nice. It'll
be interesting to see how you feel about it when it's the tourist season, especially now that COVID hasn't gone, but everyone acts like it's gone now. So
no, COVID's gone. COVID's finished. Yeah, we've announced that we're not dealing with it anymore, so it's gone.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it's like when you're living there when it's like peak tourism time.
Yeah, we went out yesterday actually because it was my housemate's birthday, and we went for a hike, and because we're getting old, that's what
that's what we do now for birthdays, hikes.
Went to hike to a nice pub, and the train station and like the bus station in the centre of town was absolutely rammed. We thought it was because there was football on, because there was loads of police there with like metal detectors and quite a lot of kind of like loutish kind of people, and we were like, oh, it must be the football crowd. But I don't think it was actually. I don't think Brighton were even playing. So yeah, I think it does get incredibly busy. I think especially when it's warm, I think everyone from like London and surrounding areas just jump on the train down to Brighton, and so it can just really quickly get overwhelmed, because as you say, it's not really a big place. It's just a place where people head to. But I think it'd be fine.
Because you've kind of got that long road that just goes along the coast. And then you've kind of got the main Brighton town that's just in the, like, obviously in all the Brighton centre, where you've kind of got the piers.
Yeah.
And you've kind of got that cool shopping area around there and stuff. And
yeah, the lanes and stuff.
The lanes and that, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never ventured past the lanes, so I don't know what's kind of beyond there.
I've never ventured into the lane since moving here, actually.
Oh, okay.
I've been seeing everything else. I think I must actually go down and actually head into the lanes. I think I'm always like, it's the busiest part of Brighton, so I'll go elsewhere, I think.
I just love that market they've got in there. It's kind of like a flea market thing where loads of different people have got different stalls, and you kind of like, on one hand you've got vintage comics, and then on opposite you've kind of got stuffed like animals, you know, what do you call it?
Like plushies?
No, like real animals, you know, what do you call it?
Like taxidermy?
Taxidermy, yeah.
Oh, you have to come down and show me places of Brighton then. That I don't know.
That you don't know.
But it's cool, yeah. I got like I'm just got two housemates up in like Hove, nice 3-bed like apartment, which is really nice. Like, yeah, it's working out. Completely new job, so that's different as well. So it's all good. And then I got COVID, and I've been sick for like February, like all of February. Like I apologise if I keep coughing as well.
Coughing?
I got it. Coughing. I've been coughing. Yeah, I apologise if I'm coughing throughout all this, because literally I'm coughing so much still, like, which I talked to the doctor about, and they were like, it might be like 6 weeks recovery or something, just because they were talking about like the inflammation and scarring can take that long, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, but But yeah, that was fun. I got COVID on my birthday. Like that's when I got it, and I can lie to myself and say that it was going to happen to anybody, but I went out to a nightclub on my birthday, and if you party with Gen Z, you're going to get COVID. That's the rules. That's just the law.
I mean, just like some of the aftermath that you can get from COVID. Like one of my best friends, his wife was in hospital, like really bad, like in a coma and everything from COVID, and it's like 6, 7, 8 months long since then, and her long COVID is like insane. Like she just goes through phases where she'll just zone out and like she's not even present in the moment, and she's like totally like lost in her own mind, and it's like it's crazy.
Christ.
And I met someone the other day who denied that COVID was real. I'm like, mate, jog on.
This was it wasn't a cold I had. Like you could and I had like symptoms for like 3 or 4 days, and I kept on testing every day, and I was just coming back negative, and so I convinced myself it was a cold. And then like the 4th day, I wasn't even going to test because I'd done 3 days of testing, and the 4th day I was like, I'll do another test just in case, and it came back with like the faintest line on that test,
yeah, I saw the picture.
Which I kind of thought faint, it meant it was mild, but it wasn't. Like the test is like
got
binary.
Mild COVID.
Yeah, I thought like, oh look, it's a mild line. I've just got mild COVID.
What's full COVID, or just the whole thing is filled up?
The whole thing goes red instantly. I was fucked for like at least 3-4 days or something. Just in bed. Just my energy levels were 0. Like that was the weirdest thing about it. I had no energy. My chest was all my head was hurting. I had like my sinuses were hurting. My chest was hurting so much, and it was really full. And I was just like light breathing, and just even going downstairs to make a tea was like exhausting. My energy levels were just 0. And I'm still feeling that kind of weird energy levels. I'm still like, I'm not right, like it's still kind of weird. But I'm fine. But it's just like, it's funny how there's like little bits of like after effects or something.
So how did that work with your housemates? Did they have to like?
I basically isolated for 2 weeks in my room for 10 days, I think it was. So I just stayed in my room.
Did they push food under your door for you?
Yeah, they would bring up food, like dinner and stuff like that. Like, and other times
I
I
in a
just
hazmat
ordered...
suit, just handing you.
Yeah. Well, I ordered takeaway, and if they went out the house, or if I went downstairs, I just like opened the window in the kitchen or wore my mask
Pulley
and
system.
stuff like that and things. Yeah.
Pulling up.
We got through it, and then like I was just recovering like after my 10 days, and then slowly they came down with COVID as well.
No. Had they had it prior, or was this their first?
I think one of them had it prior.
Right.
But I mean, I probably gave it to them, but they were just like, there's a myriad different ways for them to get it right now. Like, so.
I mean, like, so far I haven't, contracted it, but like, I'm sure one day.
It feels like everyone's going to get it.
It will rear its head eventually. But I just don't leave the house, so that's. No, that's a lie. I actually went to see Hamilton the other week in London.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Do you like Hamilton?
I do like Hamilton anyway. It's just jarring because like Caroline's obsessed with Hamilton, so she'll listen to the what do you call it, the original recording quite a lot, and she watches the one on Disney Plus quite a lot.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it's quite jarring when you see people who you're not used to performing the parts.
Right.
Doing it.
Okay.
So you're kind of going to get used to, that's not Lin-Manuel Miranda in front of me, that's someone else doing Hamilton. And but no, it was very good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
it's a great stage show. It really is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great. The woman who played his wife, I've forgotten what the character's name is, or the person. She kind of, I think, was she didn't quite work for me that well. And the guy who played Burr was really good, but like the guy who originally played Burr, he's kind of got a real soulful voice, like kind of very smooth. This guy had a more baritone kind of Gregory Porter voice, so it was a lot more deeper and a lot more manly. And he was great, don't get me wrong, but it was just like, it takes you a little while to kind of...
Well, Leslie Odom is just so iconic in that Burr role. And his voice, because, you listen to the soundtrack all the time, his voice is just so, I don't know, just integrated into that kind of sound. Like, he's the best singer.
He starts the show, doesn't he? But yeah, but it was great. It was like, it's just like I said, just you have to kind of acclimatise to it once you're used to seeing it a different way a lot.
I saw that on its first playing in London. Like literally, it must have been the first month it was there. It was so early, because I'd had that soundtrack on repeat for like since it started in America. Like, just waiting for like England tickets to come out. So
yeah, the guy who played Burr actually isn't the one who's mainly playing Burr. He was like I don't know if he's the main understudy, but the guy we had. I was like looking on his Twitter feed. I've forgotten his name, but it seemed like he, like if a cast member contracts COVID or is ill or whatever, he'll fill in for whichever. He even did King George as well and stuff like that. So he's done all the different roles and
weird,
like filling in and stuff. Yeah,
a COVID stand-in.
Yeah, I think like there's a main stand-in for like maybe Hamilton, but like I don't know if they've kind of got a one guy or woman or whatever that kind of, and like when I was looking on the Twitter feed as well for Hamilton, it looks like the women switch around their roles as well.
Oh, that's kind of fun though.
Yeah, keeps it a bit fresh for them, I guess.
Yeah.
We drove down as well, so we drove to London and drove back again. Don't know if I'll do that again, but
that's a bit much.
I just hate public transport though. I'm just getting crotchety in my old age. I'd rather be a traffic jam in my own car than sit in a crammed train.
So talking of not movies yet, shall we talk about movies?
Sure,
that sounds good. This podcast is meant to be about.
Yeah, like,
movies. Those movies. Yeah, so we thought we'd just do a small podcast to catch up and say, hey, we're alive.
We're not dead.
I'm not
Liam
dead.
almost died. But...
Yeah, almost. We are planning to continue on our series soon, digging into the 1930s we got lined up. We got some good films
which we started in September or October.
Yeah, I think we did a Halloween episode, didn't we? A 1930s film, yeah. So that was forever ago. And we'll... Did we do a Christmas episode this year? We didn't, did we?
Yeah, we did. We did Babes in Toyland.
Oh my god, yeah. I completely forgot about that. Good episode. Yeah, so we're going to continue on our 1930s like kind of path soon. We'll start recording them in a bit, and not in a bit as in, whatever. And but for the moment, we thought we'd just catch up, have a bit of chat about movies that have come out since we last chatted and podcasted, and one in particular we'll talk about because there's one film that's come out that Mr. Oliver Jones is obsessed with. But I thought, go on.
I was going to say, so like, should we go back to 2021 and talk about what some of our favourite films from
we got to go back to 2021.
Yeah, time travel.
Yeah, I've got I could do my top 10 actually. That'd be fun.
Go on then.
So I organised that because it is awards season after all. Yes, and I have got a few that I won't have seen yet. There's actually, annoyingly, I've got a couple I'm seeing this week, which will probably sneak its way into 2021. But because release schedules are annoying, so I haven't seen Souvenir Part 2 yet. I haven't seen Worst Person in the World yet, and I haven't seen Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy yet. And I can imagine they might sneak in, especially Worst Person in the World. It really sounds like my type of film. Oh, I haven't seen Memoria either yet, but I'm not seeing that this week. But my top 10. I got at number 10, Benedetta. Did you see Benedetta?
No, but that's the Paul
Verhoeven.
Yeah, I do want to see
it. Good. So good. Some nuns. Sexy nuns.
Sexy nuns. Can't beat sexy. Nuns on the Run.
Nuns on the Run.
Being the best one.
Number 9. We talked about him already. Mr. Lin-Manuel. I got Tick Tick Boom, which I think is a fantastic adaptation, which I've been telling everyone I can see to watch it. Like, Andrew Garfield is absolutely spectacular in it. Really, really is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got around to watching that either. We'll see how many.
No, I will. I'll explain. I'll talk about what I've watched and why I haven't watched stuff in a bit.
Number 8 is Bergman Island, directed by Mia Hansen-Løve. I fucking loved that film. I just love the kind of sense of it and the loneliness of the kind of creative process and the weird thing they do in it about introducing like the kind of story she's writing into it. It's just wonderful kind of like narrative. I was really, really, really love that film. Number 7 is not loading for me yet. There we go. Number 7 is Titan, the Palme d'Or winner. Fucking wild film. Fucking absolutely wild. Number 8, Parallel Mothers, the new Pedro Almodovar film.
Oh yeah.
Penelope Cruz is just spectacular in it. Hope she wins the Oscar. And I've been really trying to get into like Pedro Almodovar actually in the 3 months we got off. I've been trying to catch up with his movies. And so this one new coming out was really exciting to me. And the story is absolutely not what I thought it was going to. I didn't really know anything about the film. I just knew it was about 2 women that gave birth at the same time or pregnant at the same time. That's all I knew.
She's an actress that like American filmmakers just don't know what to do with her for some reason.
They do not fucking know how to use it.
Because she's gorgeous. They want to cast her obviously. But like she's an amazing actress, and like she's just put in like garbage like Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff. And it's like
G-force,
come on, guys. Yeah, it's like come on, guys. Like,
and honestly, like Vulva, she is just
amazing,
out of the world in that film. And the same with like, All About My Mother, even though it's a smaller role, but. And Parallel Mothers is another like Vulva-esque kind of performance for me. She's dominating in it, and just I can't recommend that more. It's absolutely wonderful. I don't want to say anything about the plot because I just did not expect where it was going. Number 5, Pig. Fucking
great.
Pig.
That was great. Pig was great.
So good. Nick Cage fucking rules. Like
Nick the Cage.
Nick's the Cage. I can't
Nick's
speak.
the Cage.
It's been too long. I can't speak anymore. We always talk about Nick Cage. So I really quickly wanted to say, like, we love his kind of gonzo performances and stuff like that. Like, we love those type of films. We all go out to watch like a gonzo Nick Cage, but him doing this kind of quieter, kind of studied performance is also fantastic. I don't want to say one's better than the other. They're both good. It's really delightful to see him do this.
Yeah.
Number 4. West Side Story.
Yeah.
A film which Brandon didn't like, so he's not welcome back on the podcast.
I love the original one. It's amazing, the original.
Yeah. When I sat down to watch West Side Story in the cinema, I was just blown away by it. It's a film I wish people could just go see it in the cinema. It's because it's just perfect for it. It's Steven Spielberg absolutely just showing off.
Who did the music for this version though? So obviously I know who did the original music, but like, is there anyone who's like?
Yeah, I think it's still just credited to Bernstein.
It is okay. I didn't know if like they got a different because I'm trying to think what film it was that. I think Sweeney Todd. I'm thinking of where they got another composer to not composer, but like someone to reinterpret it. But I didn't know if they did something like that.
I think most of the reinterpreting from this has come from the Tony Kushner, Steven Spielberg's like writer, and he's moved the songs around, given other people like some songs and stuff like that weren't in the original, like reframed some of the kind of narrative on it, reframed the trans character beautifully. That kind of stuff I think is really, really smart, and I think I really think that's one of my like adaptation kind of awards this year. I just think he's done a fantastic job of actually adapting it, and I don't accept this like there's no point remaking it crap, like, because we're about to talk about fucking Batman. With Spider-Man just came out. There's no reason why films can't be adapted.
And West Side
again.
Story is
like,
based on Romeo and Juliet, which is like one of the stories that's been retold so many times. So why not?
Yeah, why not? And like musicals kind of exist. Theatre kind of exists as something to reinterpret and replay and to re-put on stage and kind of stage in a theatre. And there's no reason why that can't be translated to film in the same way that someone comes along and restages it for a modern audience. That's fine.
But it's like an artist redoing a song, like covering a song or something like that, and updating it or changing it and stuff. So I don't.
I
care.
don't get that argument. No, I don't get
Yeah.
argument at all. It seems really kind of elitist, actually. And honestly, Steven Spielberg's having so much fun with it.
Well, it's just gatekeeping, isn't it? At the end of the day. And
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. Number 3. I'm going to put Matrix at number 3.
Oh, okay.
Matrix Resurrections.
I know you love that, so I'm not gonna. I won't poo-poo you.
I know. I had a transformative fucking experience with that film. I saw it twice at the cinema. I fucking adore it. Number 4. Number 2. I can't even count. Drive My Car. One of the most spectacular films I've seen this year. It's didn't know what to expect from it. All I knew, it was an adaptation and of basically a tiny story that he manages to stretch into this 3-hour like emotional epic.
Is that the Japanese film?
Yeah, directed by Rizuki Hamaguchi, something
Right.
like that. So it's about an actor and director who's adapting Uncle Vanya in Japan, and he's trying to do like a special kind of way of adapting that with different kind of different type people speaking different languages and different ways of talking and things. But it's also about his kind of grief over like the loss of his wife. I think the moment watching this film and the opening credits came in 40 minutes into the film, it was one of my favorite moments of the year. Like it's like I was just like, this is fantastic. I'm so up for this, and it is because like the opening 40 minutes are like a mini film to introduce
It's quite a
you to the
lengthy
film.
if I'm correct.
Yeah,
in thinking.
it is. Yeah. But it's weirdly like, honestly, the opening 40 minutes are like a mini film, like a short to introduce the film you're about to watch. So that's why the credits come in at like 40 minutes. It's fantastic, and I'm glad it's getting so much kind of attention actually, even from Oscars and stuff like that. It's really cool, really worth watching.
Another film recently he's done that, and I can't think what film it is that has like the. Is it There Will Be Blood? No, that's There Will Be Blood's like silent, isn't it, for the first?
Yeah,
20,
The Thin Man.
minutes.
Did you watch The Thin Man? That did it. The Thin Man had like a mini film and then introduced the rest of the film. No, it's not called The Thin Man. What is it called? I don't know. Whatever that bloody film was called.
Hang on, which one are you on about?
The Empty Man. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
the
yes,
Empty Man.
yeah, The Empty Man.
The Thin Man. I was close. Anyway, number 1 is Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog, which is absolutely fucking spectacular.
I was expecting Mortal Kombat, if I'm honest, but...
Did you see Jane Campion's comments yesterday? You know this Sam Neill, is it? Yeah, Sam Neill has been like, how dare she, like, she doesn't know anything about...
No, it's not Sam Neill, it's Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. I am messed up. Yeah, Sam Elliott's like, she doesn't know anything about the Wild West and cowboys, and like, how dare she do another story in that regard. And she had these comments yesterday. She just said that he's being a little bitch, and what does he know about it? He's only an actor or something.
Exactly,
like she said it in this kind of such mannered way, absolutely like cutting to the core, and she's utterly right. How dare anyone trying to gatekeep the type of stories we tell? And like, I think I moaned about Benedict Cumberbatch actually a little bit when we watched Spider-Man.
That's a shame though, because I do like Sam Elliott, and when people that you actually like,
I know,
show some
maybe
of their
see him
true
in
colours,
completely different light,
and you're like, oh come on, why?
And so I think like the cast alone for this film is like spectacular. I know I moaned about Benedict Cumberbatch in like Spider-Man and his weird American accent and he's fucking like, but like if you watch Power of the Dog, the casting of him in this is like purposeful. Like his weird American accent is purposeful in this film. It speaks to his character. Like it's this fantastic bit of casting of like his almost like falsity and his like pretense and his way of seeming like a kind of educated man is where he always comes across as like, you know, a posh British guy. That's all purposeful for this film. Like that's all purposeful casting, and it's like that like weird accent he does. He's like weaponized in this film to make him more menacing and weird. And it's it's absolutely remarkable. I think he should win Best Actor this year at the Oscars. I think they're going to give it to bloody Will Smith, who I think is like the worst person in King Richard. Yeah, I think it's one of those like it's his time, yay, kind of Oscars.
But I do want to watch that because it's got a good cast. Like Jesse Plemons is great.
Jesse Plemons is
and it's
wonderful.
got Cody Smith McPhee in it. So I was getting because like he was in, if I remember, in Slow West, which is one of the Western
wonderful film.
I adored that film.
Yeah.
And the best thing about that film, it was like 80 minutes as well, which was
yeah, totally. Cody Smith, I don't know, his choice of like roles and the choice of things he's picking leading up to this is great for a young talent, you know, like a young actor, and I love to see what he's going to do next. And he's so fucking good in Power of the Dog. Like I know he's up for supporting actor, and but he's almost the lead, you know. But you couldn't really put him up for lead for the Oscar. But like he's so good in it, and so is Kirsten Dunst is fucking amazing in it. Like. And just the direction and the things Jane Campion chooses to not to show you on screen, the stuff she chooses to show you, the kind of slow build for it. It's a film that absolutely works better the second time round, because it allows you to see other bits of the story, and you realise then second time round everything you were missing the first time is all there, and you kind of question yourself as why didn't I see like this story until it kind of unfolded. I think it's a remarkable bit of work, and I fucking want Jane Campion to win everything. Because she's fucking remarkable, and will become the first woman ever to win 2 Oscars for directing. And it's kind of sad that that's a fact. It's kind of sad that she's the first woman ever to be nominated for two Oscars for directing. I would applaud her for it, but it's a sad case of affairs that is actually a fact. You know.
Because what was her other one for? Was it the piano?
The piano.
No. Yeah, the piano. Yeah, the piano.
The piano, which is also wonderful.
I saw that, but like about 20 plus years ago. I remember I got it free in the newspaper, and I have not watched it since then. And it's been a long time.
I watched it twice actually. I watched it last year, and I watched it just recently. I went down a bit of a Jane Campion rabbit hole, really. It's
been about 12 years since her last film.
Yeah, last film was
Bright Star.
Bright Star, which is actually a wonderful film. It was slept upon by everyone in the world, but it's absolutely fantastic. And she went on to do TV, so I haven't actually watched them. I need to watch them. But she did Top of the Lake and Top of the Lake China Girl. That was the last thing she did, and I think TV takes much longer to probably make or something. And then she kind of snuck back in to do The Power of the Dog. I honestly think she's just in that time of her career when she'll go and do a film if she wants to, really. She's had a mixed success with kind of Hollywood and stuff like that, but she's definitely getting reevaluated now. Even stuff like In the Cut, which was absolutely just ravaged by critics and audiences at the time, is been kind of reclaimed in the past couple of years, and now he's being seen as this origin of modern police dramas and murder kind of shows and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. In the Cut, modern TV murder stuff like The Fall and things like that absolutely owe everything to In the Cut. In the Cut did it first, you know. And I think that kind of slow reevaluation of some of her older material is actually really helping her now, and hopefully I hope she keeps making stuff. So I think she's a wonderful director.
Well, yeah, I mean, if she gets some accolades for this, then definitely.
Yeah. Oh, wait, that was my top 10?
Yeah, I haven't got a top 10 because,
Sure.
as I said earlier, I'm a crazy person when I make films, and I find it really hard to focus on anything else, so my mind just goes in shutdown mode, and I don't really watch anything apart from, trash TV and stuff, so... some of my favourites though from last year, I'm just gonna list off, not a top 10 or anything, but Mitchell's versus the Machines, which is fantastic. And it's kind of from the same kind of crew that did Into the Spider-Verse, which was amazing. And I can't wait for that to come back again later this year. I actually know someone who worked on Mitchell's versus the Machines in Spider-Man.
Oh, cool.
They were in charge of the lighting department on the films.
I loved Olivia Colman's voice acting in that. I thought
Yeah,
it was.
but what is she bad in? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah.
she's like one of those just amazing people that.
It's so funny how she went. You know, when she won the Oscar, and she was like, "This will never happen again," kind of thing. I can't believe it. and now she's basically like fucking like Meryl Streep or something. Like she's just going to get nominated every single year.
You know, I'm not saying this is where she started, but like one of her early things was Peep Show, which is about two disgusting guys in like who share an apartment together. And then look at her now, she's winning Oscars and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's remarkable.
What else was a very good last year? I'm just having a look on Letterboxd what I've watched. The Tomorrow War. Actually, no, I'm joking. I never finished that film. I watched the first 40. I watched it to the point where I think they all, just after they all crash land into a swimming pool, and then they're kind of like on an underpass and they're having a shootout, and I was just like, I'm bored now. I turned it off.
That's such a weird. I want to support the Tomorrow War because I want there to be original sci-fi. You know, like I want that stuff to be good, but I couldn't get into the Tomorrow War. I know people who love it. I know people who actually really stand for it, and I couldn't get into it. Like,
for me, it's a lot of it's the cast they put into these films. Like,
sure,
I like when they do big budget stuff. Like, go back to Jurassic Park or whatever, but they'll put Sam Neill in it, or Laura Dern, or Jeff Goldblum, people who you wouldn't think would be in these kind of big action adventure films, but they just pick the obvious people now. But
Chris Pratt's just so boring.
Yeah,
Sam Richardson was so good in that film as well, though. Like, Sam Richardson was great casting. He was the best part of Tomorrow War, and they don't use him well enough. But also, he felt like he was in a different film to everyone else in that film, and it was so jarring. It was like, I want to follow him. Can we have his film? Because this is better. Sure. And also, and Mike Mitchell was killed too early because I love Mike Mitchell.
Annette is another film that I absolutely adored.
Yes.
I'm surprised that wasn't in your top 10, to be honest.
Yeah, it will have just fallen out. I just love Vendetta a little bit more than it, I think.
What else? I still haven't watched The French Dispatch, which I really want to watch that.
I struggled with that. I struggled with French Dispatch a lot. I was really looking forward to watching it. I'd love you to watch it, actually, because I want to rewatch it because I just got exhausted by it. I remember I was sitting there I was exhausted by it and not enjoying it. And I think maybe
it quite a high mark if I remember, though.
Yeah, I just felt like I just didn't connect to it in the way that I thought I was going to connect to it.
Right.
But I think it's because I think anthology films are sometimes hard to connect to that way.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if I go back and I understand where it's going and I understand the kind of the flows of it, maybe then I'll get a bit better into it.
Yeah. You mentioned Titan, which was fantastic. You know, great film.
God, yeah.
Pig, you said. Again, agree. Pig was amazing. The Green Knight was probably my favourite film I watched.
Good, yeah.
Absolutely adored The Green Knight.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed Malignant, which is totally stupid and bonkers, but I actually really enjoyed it.
Probably my favourite horror film of last year. Like, yeah. I just had such a wild, fun time with it. You know, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it kind of reminded... it's not the same kind of film, but like Drag Me to Hell, which like I remember sitting in the cinema and sitting next to my friend Mark, and like I was loving every single second of it. And he turned to me, he's like, is this supposed to be a bit of a joke? And I was like, yes.
Yes.
And then as soon as I said that to him, he totally changed, and like he started to really enjoy it. And I think a lot of people didn't get that Malignant was meant to be silly.
Silly, wild, fun. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think, you know, because you've got all these, I'm doing air quotes, elevated horror now. And I think a lot of people are kind of getting into that kind of mode now. And Malignant is not that kind of film.
No, Malignant's just a wild fucking great time. That's what it's going for. You know, Nick Cage is doing, he's playing Dracula, I think. I can't remember the name of the film. But he's playing Dracula coming up, and they were asking him about you know, what is he going to base his performance on and stuff like that. And he said that the only film that he's watched in recent memory, like new film that's come out that actually has opened his eyes to new ways of doing things, is Malignant.
Really?
And the idea that Nick Cage watched Malignant and went, oh fuck, I've just thought of something new. I'm like, what is this? What is this fucking Dracula gonna be? Like, if he's basing it on Malignant, that's so good. I'm so excited for that.
But I think, what else? I mean, I enjoyed Ghostbusters to a point, but I wouldn't put it. It's not a top 10 kind of film for me. Same with what else? I'm trying to think. My mind's gone dead. Spider-Man, for example. I enjoyed it. Again, it's not like what I'd put in a top 10 film. It's just enjoyable. But I haven't seen Dune yet. I'm looking forward to sitting down and watching Dune.
Yeah, you should. It's so good.
I still haven't watched Last Night in Soho. I know you didn't like that one. But I've got friends who absolutely loved it. So
okay, cool.
I really want to watch The Suicide Squad again because, like I said before, I watched it with Caroline and she wasn't enjoying it. And it kind of, sometimes if you're watching a film with someone and they're hating it, it kind of dampens your kind of enjoyment on it. Which,
absolutely,
that's fine for Caroline to not enjoy something. I've never forced her to like something or whatever. But I'd like to sit and watch it again.
Yeah, I had a good time with that. And I recently watched the Peacemaker series as well. Which
I do want to watch that as well.
Really good. It's really.
Does that help elevate Suicide Squad? Do you reckon? Like now that you prefer that, you enjoy that character even more, or because he's like the Peacemaker. I remember him vaguely from comic books, but he's not anybody I'd ever thought would now become this character that is so beloved.
It's kind of fun. The thing for Peacemaker for me, that he was the basis for the comedian in Watchmen. And that was like the only thing I really knew him for, is that Alan Moore kind of twisted the Peacemaker into this kind of fascist. And it's really funny that James Gunn basically did the same thing, but in a slightly turned the dial the different way. It's really weird that they both took Peacemaker and made him like a kind of fascist, really, and made him like an extremist.
Because Alan Moore actually wanted to use those characters, didn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to use the Charlton characters, and Blue Beetle and the rest, but the DC wouldn't allow him because they were about to do Crisis on Infinite Earth, so they were going to use the characters.
Because he specifically wanted to kill them off, didn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to kill them off and make them crazy and adult and stuff like that. It would have been wild if it was actually the Charlton characters. But do you
think it would have kind of become the thing that it is now? I guess you don't know, but like.
It's impossible. I don't know, because I don't know if he would have still changed them in the way that he changes them. Like, Rorschach is not the question. Yeah. So if he'd used the question, would he have been writing Rorschach, or would he have been writing the question? So maybe it would have been a completely different series, But it's an interesting what if, I think. It's out there. Yeah,
there's definitely another world out there that actually happened.
That happened, yeah. We had a completely different Watchmen, and think of what Watchmen did to like comic books and superheroes, and the world we now live in with movies and stuff. Like,
so is there anything like coming out this year that you're looking forward to?
God,
well, I mean, we're 3 months in already, but
I mean, I really need to know what Lightyear is.
I just don't understand it whatsoever. I've watched all the trailers, and I'm like, I still don't get it.
Did you see the quote that like, this is not the origin story of the character and this is being based on the cinematography of the French New Wave? Was that one of the comments? I'm like, what? You pardon me? What? Like,
it'll probably end up being amazing. Everyone's like, fucking hell, this is just blowing our minds.
Well, I just saw Turning Red, which is honestly really good, and like Luca last year was one of my favourite Pixars. It's easily in my top 10 favourite Pixars.
Why are Pixar stuff going straight to Disney Plus now, though? Why?
Disney are assholes, I know, right?
Like
Turning Red, like
Pixar
not even got a cinema
Disney,
release in like Canada, like Toronto is all over that film, and they didn't drop it in the cinema. It's so stupid. But
like, Pixar saved Disney pretty much.
Yeah,
it's like they're treating it like the redheaded stepchild now. They're like, I don't know.
It's the same thing with Encanto though, and not giving Encanto a cinema release after the life it's got is nuts. Like,
and they did Luca as well. They did, didn't they? Was that
Pixar? Luca's Pixar. Yeah.
So that's like 4 films in it. Like, I guess Onward was their last like pure cinema release. I mean, obviously I know COVID's happened and stuff like that.
Did Onward get a cinema release? I thought Onward was also Disney Plus.
I feel like Onward came out just before COVID hit. So I think it had a few weeks in the cinema, and then I think it was one of the first things they put like on the streaming service.
Okay.
Like I don't know if you had to pay for it. I don't know. I can't remember.
But yeah, like, so I mean, Luca was great. Turning Red's great. So I'm not going to count Pixar out for Lightyear. I'm not going to just say it's bad because it looks weird. I can't. Like,
you just can't figure out what it is.
I just cannot work it out. I cannot work out what it's going to feel like or anything. It's so weird seeing it the way it's lit and it's got that Buzz Lightyear suit on. This is what I can't. So I'm assuming the Buzz Lightyear toy in Toy Story is based on this real astronaut. So this astronaut exists in the Toy Story universe in the real world. It can't be because because that would be meaning Toy Story's the future.
Or is this the show that Andy would have watched when he was a kid?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I thought this was the film that would make Buzz Lightyear a character in the Toy Story universe. That's what I thought this was. Which is that, the old cartoon, that's what the idea was. The old cartoon was, this is the cartoon Andy watches. But the statements from Pixar are saying, like, it's not that. This is a real person that Buzz Lightyear is based on. So I don't understand.
Are we going to get like a gritty Western Woody?
Yeah, right. It's
kind of
Power of the Dog starring Woody.
Yeah, exactly. And just get flipping Tom Hanks to, I don't know, play live action version. I don't know.
What else is? I mean, I'm really looking forward to Nope because, of course.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's definitely one of my most anticipated films. Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I have no idea. I know that Nope, they say, may stand for like not of planet Earth or something like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but cool. Us, for me, like Lights Out was great, but Us, I know people have issues with Us because there's a lot going on in it, and some of it doesn't quite work. But for some of it, for me, the stuff that works in that film is amazing. I thought it was like a lot of people go, well, what happens if they're trying to travel across the Atlantic and stuff? Are the tunnels that they walk across if they're on a plane? It's like, just don't think about that. Just like, it's not. If that's what you're thinking about when you're watching this film, like I don't know, I think you're thinking too hard about it. I don't know.
Yeah, you're cinema sinsing a really good horror film. Just like, it's Jordan Peele. Let him go wild, and if stuff, maybe there's some brain logic. Like, fuck it.
It's just more about the idea and the concept.
Yeah, exactly.
Than it is about the logistics. Like, put your brain aside on that side for a little bit.
I think we spoke about this before we started, but Everything Everywhere All at Once looks absolutely amazing. I cannot wait for it.
Is that out next week or something?
Is it out that soon?
It's out on the 25th. Well,
yeah, a couple of people have been reviewing it on my letterbox, so it is.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just at a festival.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's like wonderful. A multiverse film.
Really?
Yeah. But I think it's by A24 who, are doing these kind of elevated horror films.
Yeah.
And stuff, and
that's what, speaking of A24, I might try and watch it today, actually. I've got After Yang to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Looks so good. And I speaking of the Colin Farrell, like, I can't believe he's got 2 films out right now, and they couldn't be more different. So,
but speaking of A24, they've got X as well coming out, which is like a horror film where I think they go and shoot like a 70s porno film, and it kind of shit hits the fan.
Sounds good.
So Ty West, I don't know if he's done anything in a while, but he did like he did like The Innkeepers and stuff like that, and House of the Devil, right. Which are kind of like horror films where nothing happens until the last like 5 minutes, and it's like barely anything happens. But I quite like it because it's more like a mood piece and stuff like that. And
yeah, what was that one they did that I liked? It Comes at Night. Like, people hate that film, and I really had a good time with it.
Wasn't that directed by the guy who plays Owen Lars? In the prequel trilogy stuff. What's his name?
Joe Edgerton.
Yeah, the Australian.
Yeah, he wasn't directed by him, but he was in it.
Because he has directed something, hasn't he?
I think he has, but I can't remember. Speaking of him, did you see him in Kenobi? Are you looking forward to Kenobi?
I don't know, like, I think we've been pretty critical of The Mandalorian in past when we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's some fun bits in it, but overall I was just like, yeah, whatever. And Boba Fett, was quite bored by Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett was one of the worst things I ever watched.
And everyone's like, "Oh, it's amazing," because like halfway through it becomes Mandalorian series 2.5 or whatever, and it's like,
why isn't it just called Mandalorian season 3 and just have this happening? I don't understand why they had to separate out to anything else, and you have to watch this to watch Mandalorian season 3.
Well, the stuff that happens with Boba Fett in that, like, you could have done that in an episode.
Yeah, 2 episodes. Do some flashbacks. Fine, cut that within Mandalorian stuff. I don't know. Like the only thing I liked about that was him with the sand people. I like that was the only thing I think I liked about Boba Fett. And
Joel Edgerton directed The Gift. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh my god!
But he did produce It Comes at Night.
Okay.
But yeah, like the thing is though, like I think I do have a soft spot for the prequels in the fact that
I do.
We were like 14 when The Phantom Menace came out, and we were so excited. And I think we kind of talked ourselves into liking it when we first saw it, and then by the time like Attack of the Clones came out, we were probably a bit more cynical and kind of like, yeah, it's a bit shit. But we always liked Ewan McGregor. Well, I did in that role.
I mean, my take of Phantom Menace. I'm quite explicit.
It's the best of the prequels, in my opinion.
Yeah, and more and more, I kind of like it. I
like it as well. It's got a lot of shit in it, but I still find it quite enjoyable.
Yeah. The other two I can't stand. I haven't been able to talk myself into the other two, but Phantom Menace I've come round on.
But and I do like Ewan McGregor as an actor anyway, so I'm excited to see him and see what he does. And I've forgotten the woman who's directing the whole series, but she directed some of the best episodes of The Mandalorian. So
cool. Okay.
So that would be cool to see. But the one guy though, the villain, I think he's like in either Clone Wars or something like that. He looks really weird. He looks like an egg with like red arrows painted on his head. And I think they're like people who hunt down Jedi.
Yeah, Inquisitors.
And he just looks,
is that what they call them?
Yeah, he looks terrible.
Yeah, people are really. The thing is, the problem is that these TV shows, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, whatever the other fucking ones are called, they're kind of made for the generation a little bit below us who loved those cartoons and grew up with them. Rebels and the Clone Wars cartoons and stuff. They really are directed to that audience, and I think I'm just finding myself a little bit lost with Star Wars because I don't know any of that. It's not even that I even don't like them. I've never watched them, so I just don't know anything. So there's so much that happens like in Boba Fett, and they introduce characters that I've never fucking heard of, but they introduce them like you know them and you know everything about them. There was that bloody bounty hunter in Boba Fett.
I was going to this is Dave Filoni though, all over. Like he loves his own work, and like it's good to love what you do.
And that's honestly,
but he
fine.
expects everyone else to love these characters, and I'm like, look, please introduce this blue bounty hunter way before, so at least like when he gets killed or whatever, spoilers, when
Yeah, but I would have felt
kind of
something if
something
he was in episode 1 and he was like the villain throughout the show. I would have been like, right, I know what his character is, but
but they bring him into the one before the last episode for like, and I'm like, no, like,
and then I find out when I read up,
you can't expect everyone to have watched these cartoons because there's a lot of them.
And that's just what I mean. They're made for the people who grew up watching those cartoons. They really are. Yeah. I know we've been fairly critical, so this is a bit hypocritical, but like I won't critique it too much because I know people are going to like it because it's just a different audience. Yeah. Like it's just not really for me, and that's fine. Not everything has to be for me. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm loving something when really I'm just quite frustrated by it. So
I guess in regards to Star Wars, we grew up in a weird time for it because we were born.
We grew up when there wasn't any.
We were born when it was finished. The first 3 films are done, and we had the cartoons now and again and stuff like that, and then we didn't get anything until we were like in our mid to late teens,
like 11,
and so we were we grew up watching those films, but I don't know, it's I don't know,
because I remember, I think my first time I saw one of the Star Wars films was the re-release on the cinema.
Definitely. I loved seeing those films though at the big screen.
Me too. I remember I went with my dad every time, and sat and watched them. It was really cool, and they were giant films. I remember the box office; they were top of the box office and stuff. Do more of that. Re-release films in cinemas.
But as for Obi-Wan, I'm sure I'll watch it. You know,
I've got to watch it. I've got to consume the content. I've got to consume every bit of content that exists.
I mean, like in terms of other films, like the more interesting kind of indie fare or whatever, I guess you kind of don't really know about those until they're a bit more.
Yeah, I'm never good at things coming up. The only thing I know that's coming up is like Jurassic World Dominion, which I do not give a shit about.
No, thanks. I mean, like all
in
of
any way, shape, or form.
DC Comics or Warner Brothers have like shifted their slate all around, so
most
things aren't coming out till next year, apart from Shazam, and I think.
When is fucking Top Gun coming out? If Top Gun moved again, is it like
I don't. That's
Top Gun was filmed like 3 years ago.
Top Gun. I'm having a look at all the films. We're getting a new Sonic the Hedgehog.
We are getting new Sonic the Hedgehog. We're now getting the actual Sonic the Hedgehog, it looks like, and not whatever the fuck that first film was.
Top Gun looks like it's out on the 27th of May.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and for listeners of this podcast, if there's any of you still listening,
not after this.
One of the reasons we started this podcast was because we were chatting, and I said I've never seen Top Gun.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like spiraled out of other films we haven't watched and we should have watched. So hopefully when Top Gun comes out, we'll actually do a review of.
Well, our first episode was going to be Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Like, that's how long this film's been coming out. It's insane. Speaking of a film, Morbius meant to come out 1,000 years ago, didn't it? Is that still coming out next month?
I just don't care.
I don't care. I just find it funny that these films just got filmed and just never existed again. I
mean, I think the guy who did Midsummer's got a new film out as well. Is it The Nowhere Man? I think it's cool.
That sounds fun.
You've got Elvis as well by Baz Luhrmann, which I'm quite interested to see that.
Cannot wait for Elvis. That trailer is insane. Like, and how can you ever be like disappointed in whatever Baz Luhrmann's doing is always going to be something to fucking see. But like the Tom Cruise,
Australia wasn't great.
Tom Hanks on that fucking trailer.
I know. Is he the manager?
Yeah, he's playing Colonel Tom.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like he's haunting Elvis, like this weird, like southern goblin. It's kind of like haunting Elvis, and like this film looks wild. I need to see this. There's Men's coming out. You gotta watch Men.
I have no idea what that one is.
It's a new Alex Garland film.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it looks good. There's Avatar 2 coming out. Believe it or not, which. It's gonna be something. It's fucking James Cameron. It's gonna be fucking something. Don't ever write it out. Like, who knows what it's gonna be? But...
I've just noticed the new Martin McDonagh film's out later this year called The Banshees of Inisherin. I don't know what that is, but in Martin McDonagh, he did. Is he in Bruges and?
Oh yeah, sure.
3 Billboards.
Yeah, he's the So. A friend asked me the other day, has there ever been someone who won an Oscar for a short film, like documentary or live action or animated, and then later went on to win a feature-length Oscar? And the only person I could think of off the top of my head was Nick Park for like the Wallace and Gromit stuff.
Yeah.
But him is the only other person I could think of that came close, because he won it for a short film. And then he came really close to winning it for 3 billboards, but didn't win in the end. So he's the only person I can think of, apart from like maybe there might like Walt Disney might count, to be honest. Like, but so he might be someone who's winning that weird thing that I never thought of before.
Oh, and then just one last film to talk about. The Mario film's out later. Shit.
Oh my god.
I like Buzz Lightyear. I have no idea what this is going to be.
No.
Like what? Who knows? What are your thoughts on Avatar 2? Do you think it'll be a massive success, or do you think it'll flop?
I think it'll be a massive success.
Yeah, same. Because a lot of people say that everyone hates Avatar, and it will now and it will flop. And I'm like, look, never discount James Cameron. Everybody poo-poos every film that he
everything
made,
he's ever done. Yeah,
granted, he's only done 2 films in the last 25 years, which is true. Like feature films, like Titanic, everyone said was going to be shit, and it became the biggest film ever. Then Avatar, everyone said it's going to be shit, became the biggest film ever.
Biggest film ever. Yeah, I'm not counting out just because I don't know what it is, and and the fact that it comes out it's just so funny that it's coming out so long after Avatar. It's kind of insane, but and then he, instead of just doing here's Avatar 2, he announced 5 Avatar films at once or something, which is just insane. But I don't know, the fucking rumours from that set that people are filming underwater. They got Sigourney Weaver holding her breath underwater and do it for 3 minutes or something ridiculous.
But why would they need to do that? Because surely she's going to be a CGI character, and didn't she die and become the tree or something? I don't know.
Who fucking knows? This is just who knows. I don't even like Avatar that much. I didn't really engage with it. I never saw it at cinema, so I think that's a big part of it. But I'm not counting Avatar 2 out. I'm interested in what this is, So
this year looks quite a good year, for films though. There's a BG film biopic coming out by Kenneth Branagh.
Good old Kenneth Branagh. He's always bringing something.
So much. Oh, and Halloween Ends as well.
Oh, I can go.
I haven't seen the other 2, to be honest. So.
Anyway, shall we talk about more interesting things?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Is that? I don't know.
It's a really weak segue, but
it's a
we'll
really
go
weak
with it.
segue.
It's the best we've got.
Talking of new releases,
yes,
and superheroes. I can't do segues.
Speaking of films, we've just watched one.
Speaking of films, one came out of the cinema. Did you watch it?
I did watch it. Did you watch it?
I watched it. It goes on for 72 hours.
So, all right.
Batman. We're going to talk about Batman. Of course we're going to talk about fucking Batman. Because, it's us. So we're going to talk about fucking Batman. And a new Batman's out. And it's based upon a film that we did before called Batman Forever.
Actually, I don't think it is. I think it's more based on the Batman 66, the movie, because, spoilers, every single villain in that film is in this film.
Yes. Damn it. I had that stat. I had that in my head. I don't even know how we start talking about Batman. I think
there's so much that has to go into there's so much what you call baggage you have to take in with Batman.
I know, right? I think let's start dissecting the baggage though, because the weird thing about this movie is that it was designed to be part of the DC universe, right?
Yeah.
So it was designed to come out in, I don't know, fucking 2015 or something, 2016, I think, to be part of just coming out around the same time as Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice and all that other stuff that feels like a billion years ago now, frankly. So it was designed to be part of this kind of mixed universe when Warner Bros. Were obsessed with doing this kind of stuff, and it just slowly kind of threw away the trappings of kind of mixed universe to come out with this film. Which
I think during the production, Ben Affleck had a hard time with Justice League, with the swapping of directors, and apparently Josh Whedon wasn't nice to work with, and then he had to deal with his own personal problems, and I just think it just got to the point where playing Batman just wasn't fun. Yeah. And if you don't want to play, he was meant to direct it as well, and then
he was. Then
he decided to step away from directing. I mean, I think the moment Matt Reeves was hired, there's no way they were going to do Ben Affleck's script. I think it was just a gradual thing to kind of lower expectations for fans until they changed it to what it is now.
That's what it seemed to be, a case of brand management, didn't it? This film. And it's the history's kind of fun. So 2015, Jeff Johns has basically announced that he's writing a Batman film. Is the origin of this one, and it was going to be about the murder of Robin by the Joker, because that's kind of set up in Batman vs Superman. So it was going to feed directly out of that film. That was the whole point of it. And then Affleck kind of was circling around that directorship as well. It eventually got announced, I think a year later, that he was going to star and direct in it, and it was going to be about Deathstroke. You know, Joe Manganiello. Oh, la, la, la.
Well, there's like test footage of Ben Affleck filming him on a set, like doing stuff,
and that
like a costume.
Never really. I have to say that never really interested me because, and this is dumb, but Deathstroke isn't a fucking Batman villain. He's just Teen Titans.
Like, isn't he the Outsiders or whatever? Or was he Teen?
Yeah,
Titans?
well, he's more like Teen Titans. Yeah, he's a Teen Titans villain. So don't fucking use him for Batman. Batman has 1,000 fucking people like he can use. Like I just was always a bit annoyed by that, you know, because I love Teen Titans. So do a fucking Teen Titans thing. And you know, it originally announced like because Jeremy Irons was going to play Alfred. It was properly tied into that world, and eventually like everything went just weirdly quiet. And I think you're right. It's about the production of Justice League. And Affleck had such a bad time making that film and just started hating playing Batman. He started drinking again loads, and started really kind of because he had to go to rehab as well.
His marriage fell apart.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And there's a quote from him saying that when he got a script for, I don't really think it was this script, but because it can't be, but when he got a script in that to play it, his friend said like, you know, you could do this film, but it will kill you.
Well, he co-wrote the script with Jeff Johns, didn't he?
Yeah, eventually. Well, actually, Jeff Johns steps away, and he co-wrote a screenplay with Chris Terrio, who's the guy who did Batman vs Superman and Argo and stuff. And that was basically set. That was set in like in Arkham Asylum, and that was about
that's
Arkham
quite
Asylum.
An interesting idea, like a raid or something kind of or Dread or whatever, like in Arkham. I think that'd be quite cool, but like I don't know. If I'm perfectly honest, I'm really glad that the way it has transpired. To be honest, you know, I'm glad we've got what we've got over that. To be honest, because I know that they were saying, oh, we kind of wrote a script that was like Bond. And I feel like, for me, I've already had my Batman Bond films. With
That's
the
what
Nolan
Nolan
films.
is. Yeah, that's what Nolan is.
That's what those are.
Yeah. And so, Affleck steps down from directing, but not being in the film. So you get this weird time period then where basically they were throwing every director in the world saying they're going to direct this Batman film. And the top of the list was Matt Reeves, but there was also George Miller was in talks, like Denis Villeneuve was in talks, which I can't imagine Denis Villeneuve doing it, really, but... That would have been different.
Know. If you look at Prisoners and stuff, and like which is very Fincher-esque, and then you look at what we've got now, which is
it makes sense, doesn't it?
So yeah, it does.
Ridley Scott was touted, which I think I'd fucking love Ridley Scott, but I think that would have been a fucking mess.
I'm surprised bloody Clint Eastwood wasn't on that list.
I know, right? And the other one that I think's really weird, and I kept on looking up this as well, because I couldn't understand why he kept on being on the list, but Matt Ross kept on being on every list that he's going to direct the Batman. Yeah, Matt Ross. Matt Ross, he was an actor in Silicon Valley, if you watch Silicon Valley.
I've watched it. Who was he in Silicon Valley?
He was the weird boss of like that company, the kind of Jeff Bezos character. Oh,
yeah. Okay.
And he directed... Captain Fantastic is like the only feature he's directed, you know, with the movie with Viggo Mortensen in it from 2016.
Oh, that looks like a knockoff Wes Anderson or
it looks like a bit of a Wes Anderson. Yeah, I've actually not watched Captain
Jared
Fantastic,
Hess or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I can't understand why he was always on these lists to direct Batman. I can't understand like where that came in or who was touting for him. Not that he could have been brilliant, I don't know, but it's just really weird that I can't imagine Warner Bros. Putting all their faith in someone who hasn't proven to hold like a budget and do this kind of stuff. So Matt Reeves makes perfect sense because of the Apes films. You know, he took all those ape films, he managed all them, they were all hits. You know, and in the studio,
he didn't do the first one though, did he?
No, he did the sequels. Sorry, yeah. I will admit, not a fan of his Apes films. I find them quite boring, if I'm really honest.
I like.
I know
the
people do like
one.
them, but
Cloverfield's a bit dumb, but I still quite enjoy it.
Yeah, same.
And his remake of Let the Right One In was decent, but it's weird that all of his films, apart from Cloverfield, have all been like either a remake or based on an existing property, which is
it's true. A properly modern director.
But then again, you look at Tim Burton, exactly the same path. He did Beetlejuice, and then everything after that pretty much was all like franchise based, apart from like Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, apart from a couple of little movies.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if Matt Reeves is going to get like stuff his own passion stuff now, or is he just like a modern director who's just going to keep hitting these like franchises? Be interesting to see where he goes. Like,
I think he's in the Batman world for a while now because they've announced 2 shows. They're doing Penguin and
I forgot about the shows. Yeah,
and they were going to do a Gotham PD one. But it was going to be about a corrupt police officer, and I think in the times we live in now about corrupt police and that, I don't think people necessarily want to watch.
No,
that.
I don't want to. Cop
so they've changed it to Arkham, so it's all about the.
Okay. My least favorite part of it. We'll get to my least favorite part of this film is some of the cop stuff.
But
anyway,
we'll get to it.
So yeah, Matt Reeves comes on at this point. Ben Affleck's still attached, and this is what you were saying earlier. Like, they announced that it's going to be year 2 of Batman. Like, it's not going to be Batman Begins. It's going to be year 2 of Batman. That was always like the approach they're taking, and there was no fucking way Ben Affleck was playing year 2 Batman. That's insane. Like, but they
Are
were
you sure
still
that wasn't announced after he stepped down? They kind of shifted gears. Really? Okay.
Yeah, and then he steps down just after this. But I think you're right that he was already out of it, and they were just managing that kind of expectation and managing that kind of fan backlash, because I think Ben Affleck had a hard time, and the fans know that. Like, and the fans were mad for that for him.
They're still insane though. Like, you cannot, like, if you look on Twitter, it still says #restore the Snyderverse. And it's like, come on, guys. Most of it's still around. You've still got Ezra Miller as the Flash. You've still got Gal Gadot. You've still got Jason Momoa. You've still got Thingy playing Gordon. Like, it's still the remnants of it. The only thing you haven't got is Cavill and Affleck. That's it.
Oh, Cavill, come back, Cavill, please.
Cavill should come back. I think that's a lot of pay negotiations though with that.
Yeah.
And then Affleck, we're going to get one more adventure with Affleck, aren't we? He's in the Flash or something.
He's in the Flash. Whatever that Flash film is, he's in it. Like, that's a weird. I don't understand what they're doing in that film. It's like it feels like they're doing kind of like, we've talked about it before, but it feels like they're kind of doing like universe management in a film, and I'm like, don't bother. Like, no one needs this from you. No one needs you to like sew these stitches together or anything. It's very weird. And that, like, I was just thought the Snyderverse stuff. There's a cameo at the end of Peacemaker, and all the Snyderverse fans were really mad on Twitter about it, and they're really angry about it, especially because there's an ongoing joke about Aquaman fucking fish in the Peacemaker show, and they're like, Zack Snyder took so much effort to make Aquaman a real character and flesh him out and take him seriously, and now they've ruined all that with this dumb show. And it's like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Like, have you watched the Aquaman film? It's wild and fun and crazy.
Is Superman in that episode of Peacemaker then?
There is a Superman in it, yeah, but he's very much a stand-in.
But it's the excuse me, it's the Cavill suit.
It's the Cavill suit, yeah.
It's like they did with Shazam, where you see him, but you don't see his head.
Yeah, basically, you can tell it's not Cavill very easily.
I just think it's pay negotiate. They're not willing to pay.
Probably.
I'm guessing it's to do with his agents, not necessarily him, because I have a feeling he'd still do it.
I have a feeling he'd play it, yeah. I think he'd be so good.
Because really, like, who knows like what agreements you have with your agents, and like if you're locked in with them for a certain amount of time, and you know he can't go to another agency and sign a new deal or whatever. Like, you know, who knows what goes on. It could be out of his hands that he wants to do it. Warner Brothers want him to do it, but some of the forces he can't do it. I don't know.
Well, there's a big thing with the about to get like casting of this. So, you know, when they cast, they end up casting Patterson for this. His salary was $3 million for this film, and they wanted Jonah Hill to play the Riddler. He was locked in basically, but his
I remember that. Jesus.
But his demand was $10 million to play the Riddler.
Really?
And they were just like, we're not paying you that. We're paying Patterson $3 million. Like. And that's why they went for Dano, which I think actually was a good move. But that's what you're speaking to about that pay negotiation stuff. That's nothing to do with, probably nothing to do with the actors, you know. Yeah. It's nothing to do with that. That is absolutely just the Hollywood machine working on really. And
because who knows what cut they get on there, you know, like they may get a filthy, disgusting amount of that money.
Yeah,
just for representing that actor.
Yeah, just for the negotiations.
That's why Bill Murray doesn't even have an agent. He just, you know.
That's why he misses all the good films.
He was in talks of being a Batman at one point, wasn't he?
Oh God, he was. Yeah, that would have been fucking interesting.
Yes.
Honestly. Keaton was the right choice, but that would have been so weird. So it kind of came down to Nicholas Hoult and Robert Pattinson were the two people they're thinking about this film more than anything else. Armie Hammer was
both boys
really,
with pouts.
Pouty boys. Pouty boys with lips. Armie Hammer was really fucking close. They dodged a fucking bullet there.
Oh yeah. Well, he almost played him in George Miller's one, didn't he?
Yeah. He's been linked for so long to Batman.
Is his career over now? Is he like done?
Yes. Yeah.
I
can't even believe Death of the Nile came out with him still in it. You know,
because what were they, like texts or messages like just saying I want to eat you or something? I can't remember. Like some cannibalistic things. I don't know. It's so bonkers.
Just feel free to Google it.
Okay.
Don't go into it, but it's all fucking like kink play and stuff like that. But it's like he's just went like wild and insane and very abusive. So he's done. He's done. Like Aaron Taylor Johnson was also linked to the role, which I don't think is a very good fit. If I'm honest, I'm not a huge fan of him.
Well, I remember watching Tenet, and I was like, "Where was he in Tenet?" And I know
he's so good.
He's like the massive guy with the shaved head, and Ben was like, "What? That was him."
He's so good in Tenet. It's so against what he's normally like. I really liked him in Tenet. So maybe actually he could have done a good Batman. I don't know. Like, we'll see him in Kraven the Hunter.
But like, he's already been Kick-Ass, and he was Quicksilver. You know, that's He's
well,
done his two superheroes.
It's basically, I think, what helped Pattinson is the fact that Patterson's been so against doing any Marvel. So he's never signed on to a role. He's never even been linked to like a role. Whereas Nicholas Hoult, he's been in the
Beast and stuff.
X-Men films and stuff like that. So he's already been linked to that kind of like superhero world where Patterson just doesn't have that baggage to him at all.
Yeah.
And he has the Twilight baggage, but very proven that was no one gives a shit.
Well, you say that though. There's so many people who go, "Not my Batman, sparkly," and that just speaks volumes that a lot of these comic book fans or whatever, they don't watch films. They just watch superhero films, and it's like, well, if you watch films, you realise he's actually a very accomplished actor, and he's very good.
Well, that's why he got cast in this, because of Good Time, which is a fucking good film. Yeah. But Matt Reeves basically was convinced that he wouldn't want to do it, that Patterson would just turn it down because he's never been interested in doing that kind of stuff. And I think something about Patterson being a complete freak really convinced him that he could do this as a complete freak. And I think
I read that
really
he actually sought out once he found out they were casting for a new Batman, he wanted it.
So he ended up wearing the Batman Forever suit, Val Kilmer's suit. He wore it to the audition during the screen tests, and he loved it. That's what he wore it to the screen test to kind of convince them that he's the right person to put in the suit. Really,
to be fair though, they always do that. So if you watch the behind the scenes of Batman Forever, I'm pretty sure Christian Bale's wearing the Forever suit as well.
I love how it's the Forever suit. I love how that's become the default suit that they wear.
Maybe it's just good. It's a suit that will fit everyone. It's like, I think with Robert Pattinson, I think he wore the suit of one character and the cowl of another actor, because he's kind of like and it's like, I think maybe in Brandon Routh or Henry Cavill, they wore like the Reeves suit or something like that. I don't know. There's always they wear.
God, imagine testing for Superman and they give you the Reeves suit. That must feel so kind of otherworldly, that you get to put on this kind of like iconic suit.
Yeah, so
But so Patterson gets cast. The other casting is pretty much, we talked about, Paul Dano, but Jeffrey Wright gets signed on instantly. Wonderful fucking casting.
Do you know what? I was watching the film, and I thought, spoilers, he was fantastic in the film. And then I was reading online, and someone went, he's the first black Commissioner Gordon, and that for me, maybe I'm woke now, I don't know, but I know it didn't even come into my mind. Do you know what I mean? He was just Commissioner Gordon.
He's just Commissioner Gordon. No one ever looked more like Commissioner Gordon.
Don't get me wrong, Gary Oldman was awesome as well. They're both as good, but he had that kind of gravelly kind of noir detective kind of.
It was so funny to me how I couldn't stop thinking of Batman 66 during this film. This spoilers, I couldn't stop thinking of Batman 66 because like the idea of like Chief Gordon and Batman being friends and hanging out.
Yeah, but they hang out together
and they hang out on like crime scenes and they trust each other kind of thing. I was like, this is fucking like Batman 66 territory.
The William Shakespeare head bust.
Yes,
is in
the phone.
Not Wayne Manor, but it's in the really bizarre gothic apartment in Wayne Tower, which is the most gothic
weird
place you've ever seen in your life. And also, Aunt Harriet or someone is.
I was about to fucking say the maid
who's bumbling around,
who's too old to be a maid. I don't know, like Bruce, like stop hiring this ancient woman to clean your house, who seems to only exist because they need someone to answer the phone and say that it already happened. Yeah, that seemed to be the only reason she exists as a character. But yeah, the other casting comes pretty easily. Zoë Kravitz wins I
will say this, everybody, spoilers ahead, so...
yeah. I think you could see the episode's going to be called Batman, isn't it? So... But I think Zoë Kravitz is fucking amazing. So this news came out like this week, actually, about the fact that she got turned down for the role in Dark Knight Rises because she was too urban, which fucking speaks to the era that film was made, even though it wasn't that long ago.
She was wonderful,
so good.
She was just gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah, she is.
Like, the way she does that
Stunning.
kind of just swaggering her hips as she's walking away from Batman, it's quite mesmerising. But, her performance was great as well,
she's honestly
straight
one of
out
my
of the
favourite
comic
actors
books.
right now. Yeah, she's by far the best Catwoman that's ever been on screen. Absolutely fucking nails every single part of that. I absolutely love a movie that came out this year, Kimi.
Oh yeah.
Is that what it's called? Have I just said that incorrectly?
Kimi, is it? No.
Kimi. Yeah. She's the lead of that film, and she's stunning in that film. So fucking good. And I was so excited after watching Kimi to go watch Batman because I was so excited by Zoë Kravitz being in Kimi and then being Catwoman, and that was for me the most exciting thing going into it. Weirdly, it was more than anything else. I really wanted to see her Catwoman, and she didn't disappoint. I thought she was absolutely fucking fantastic. And actually, for the first time, I felt like they nailed that comic book relationship between them, and it wasn't the kind of weird sappy crap they kind of do sometimes with Catwoman, and the weird kind of mechanisms between her and Bruce. I just thought they nailed all that stuff really well.
Did you see her in the where they did High Fidelity, where they flipped it like a gender swap?
Oh no, I didn't watch that. No,
it was pretty good. She was good.
And there was the other people rumored to be cast. I think Ana de Armas got quite close, who would have been fucking wonderful. She steals No Time to Die, in my opinion, in the middle of that Bond film. But
I still need to watch that. I haven't watched that either yet.
I'm really glad it was Zoë Kravitz. And then
I was going to say. My mind's gone dead now. Hang on, it'll come back to me, and I'll have to edit this out. Oh yeah, so this film isn't. It's not grounded in reality. It's very
no.
It does feel like a comic book almost. It's a very stylized world. But yet you've got the Nolan films which are grounded in more of reality. But for some reason, this Catwoman made the Anne Hathaway one look more like a cartoon, and I don't know why that is.
I think it made Anne Hathaway's Catwoman look really silly.
But I really like Anne Hathaway in that film. She's gorgeous. I really like Anne Hathaway.
Yeah,
well.
totally.
But for some reason, it made her, and I don't know if it's because this Catwoman is she's wearing just almost like a biking onesie thing, and she's just wearing a balaclava, whereas Anne Hathaway's kind of got this more tactical kind of suit with these clever. And then when she's walking around in her daylight in the daytime, she's kind of more like the Batman animated series with the Audrey Hepburn big hats and kind of. I don't know. It's weird because those films are supposed to be so grounded. Yeah, it made it feel more cartoony, and yet this film is really comic booky, and I can't. My head hurts thinking about it.
I do think it's one of the weird things about Rises, though. That kind of there is elements in Rises that makes it a weird watch, and I think that's what you're getting at is part of that. I think, and as I said, I liked Hathaway's Catwoman at the time, but I really do like this Catwoman so much better.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
just spectacularly more.
She has the whip.
She has the whip. Other casting,
and she has pet cats for a start.
And she actually has pet cats, and it's not. I like how she's just not. She's not just cat puns constantly. Do you know what I mean? I like it. Like she only basically she says one thing about 9 Lives, but it's not just the constant like cat themed stuff.
Well, I think
which I just like. I like that a lot more.
In fairness to Nolan, he doesn't once call a Catwoman, and I actually don't think she's called that in this either. But like, and I don't think there's any cat references as there, or maybe the cat burglary and Rises, whatever. But anyway,
I don't remember. Other casting, Andy Serkis, it wasn't a surprise because he's worked with Matt Reeves a lot before as Alfred.
Great choice, though, in my opinion.
I'm not entirely convinced. We can talk about it. Like,
no, I really liked it. To be honest, for me, I think the casting, hands down, is just like maybe Dano was weird, but I still kind of liked it. I don't know.
I really liked Dano. I thought Dano was a really good Joker. Sorry, Riddler.
But you know what I find funny about Dano? Like, when he's out of the costume and he's like himself, he's just as over the top as Jim Carrey was in Batman Forever, but in a totally other way.
We'll come to Riddler, because I think Riddler's going to be a big conversation. So, but like Andy Serkis, I just don't like what they were doing with him so much, and I like they gave him that monologue in the bed, which was really good. In his injury bed.
Yeah.
But that was all they really gave him for this, and
he didn't have much to do. But
much to do, and I think that's why I feel unsettled by him as Alfred, because I feel like I've not really got to know him as Alfred, apart from the fact that he likes doing some puzzles over dinner. Like,
I mean, we've just had Michael Caine, who was fantastic as Alfred.
Yeah, I think that's probably that's why I'm being a bit unfair, maybe, because Michael Caine was so good. And
I think with this one, they're going for the. If you read the is it Earth 2 comics, or is it Earth 1? I forget which one, but the one that Jeff Johns wrote, and it's basically. It's like the first couple of years of Batman's, being Batman, and a lot of the things from this film are from this book. And I think this Alfred is definitely an Alfred who was in the military, and he was more of a bodyguard to the Waynes as opposed to like a butler. And I think he helps train Bruce in like hand-to-hand combat and stuff like that. And
I'm not saying he was weak or anything. I just wasn't totally sold by him for some reason.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
It was great though. He's basically Robert De Niro in like
yes,
in what do you call it, Untouchables or something. Like, dude, is that best Al Capone?
It's I get when people say, why is it Colin Farrell? I get it, because it is funny that it's Colin Farrell, because it looks nothing like him.
If you put your hand over his mouth, you can tell it's him.
Just about see him. But he's having so much fun.
Oh yeah.
And he's having such a wild time, and he brings so much fucking energy that I just had so much fun watching him, I think is the best way to put it. Like, who
else is in? You've got
John Turturro.
John Turturro's Carmine Falcone.
Yeah, I didn't really realise he was basically going to be the villain of this whole thing, really, which I thought was quite cool.
What do you think of him being Catwoman's father? Because I'm pretty sure that was in either Long Halloween or Dark Victory, or one of those Tim Sale.
It is in one of those. I thought that. I guess I was okay with it. I guess. A little bit of a problem I had with this film is that I had a little trouble following it, if I be very honest.
What do you mean? Like,
they kept on. I just got a little bit lost with people's names. They kept on like naming kind of Italian people who were like the Rat and stuff.
Well, you know who Falcone is. You know who.
I know. And then I just got a little bit lost of who was controlling whom at some point during it. And I did I wasn't aware that he didn't know that he was the father of Catwoman.
Yeah, they didn't make that clear. If I'm perfect, to be honest.
I thought he knew, and I was like, well, God, if he knows he's the father, the way he was hitting on her in the club is really weird.
Well,
being a dad.
There's supposed to be a 4-hour version of this film, isn't there? So I reckon
Jesus.
a lot of things may have gone.
Sure. So that did throw me a little bit. I'm fine with him being the dad. I remember just in the film itself, I was thrown a little bit about the way the characters were interacting with that. At the time, I think.
I mean, that's it for your main cast, really, isn't it? I guess.
The main cast, yeah.
Well, Paul Dano, we briefly mentioned Paul Dano.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Riddler. I think, what's your kind of opinions on the Riddler? What do you think about the Riddler or stuff? Like, is he a good choice for this, or what? Like,
I mean, yeah, to make the Riddler work in this film, you have to kind of change him a lot from especially his appearance, from how he looks in the, because he's a guy that either wears like a onesie with question marks in it, or like a green suit with or like they did him in Gotham as well. I never watched Gotham, but I saw little clips here and there, and I think he kind of worked in the forensics department or something of the Gotham PD or whatever. But
yeah, I think so.
He is quite a campy villain, isn't he? Really, the Riddler.
Yeah,
and but to be honest, like I know a lot of people who are big Batman fans. There's this Batman podcast I listen to called Holy Batcast, and they were quite upset with how the Riddler looked and acted and stuff in the film. But to be honest, I didn't care. I quite liked it. I think he kind of worked for me, to be honest. I've always been a fan of Paul Dano, even going back as far as like the film hasn't aged very well, but The Girl Next Door.
Girl Next Door, yeah.
And he was in They Will Be Blood, Little Miss Sunshine and stuff like that.
I wasn't a fan of the Riddler costume, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I know they're just doing the Zodiac Killer, but it was just a little bit too much on the nose for it. It was just like, you can be inspired by the Zodiac Killer, but it doesn't have to be the Zodiac Killer. And it felt like, to me, it was so on point, like especially the little glasses and stuff like that. It was if you look at his glasses, they're the exact same glasses Jim Carrey wears as Edward Nygma. So I honestly think a lot of this film is almost like they've taken every single Batman film and kind of put it into a blender. Yeah, I can see that. And like even the music, like I love Michael Giacchino's score for this film. It's quite monotonous and I think repetitive. The music was my favourite thing about this film. But it feels honestly like the animated series, but then there's hints of the Danny Elfman score. Then you hear a bit of the Elian Goldenthal, kind of like his over-the-top kind of like trumpets and saxes now and again and stuff like that. And then you get a bit of Zimmer and James Newton Howard's from the Dark Knight stuff. And I feel the same with the film as well. You kind of get shades of kind of a bit of everything in there. I really loved Paul Dano, and I just kind of wish we got more of Paul Dano out of costume. I thought because you only get like 2 scenes in Arkham, I think, and that's it. And I thought the costume was a little bit restrictive. That's why I just didn't like it. Like I said to someone, it wasn't cinematic, which I think isn't strictly true. I think it's a dumb thing to say, but I just feel like it didn't look very good to me on screen. Is this the best way to put it? Like when he was on the camera, when he was on screen, when he was talking, especially when he was talking, I thought he was harder to hear than like Bane was. When everyone moaned about Bane, I actually thought Riddler was harder to hear because of the mask. I do like it though that he's got this voice that he puts on for when he's like on his videos or whatever. But when he's chatting to his 500 followers, he's like, I just want to thank you all for. I really liked the Riddler in this. I just didn't really like the outfit, if the best way to put it, really. I think, the runtime's a big issue for some people. Yeah, it is long. I'm a massive Batman fan, so I'm going to take as much Batman as I can get. Yeah, and the fact that he's in the costume for like 90% of this film for me is just is amazing. Absolutely. But like. I was never bored once throughout the film, but the thing is, like for me, just the world that they built for this Gotham is for me the star of the show. I just love how they visualize this Gotham. It's a bit of a mixture of like the Burton Gothic-y stuff with a bit of the real world Nolan. It's all filmed in Liverpool and Glasgow. It's all rain
dripping with rain, a bit like in Seven and stuff like that.
I did play a little bit of like spot the location of this film.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm always fascinated by, because they don't film a lot of things where I've been, but if you're like in New York, I think you don't play the game so much. Like, but like there was a few moments like, oh, that's I've been there. I'm sure I think there's one bit that's filmed in Edinburgh, but maybe it's Glasgow. But I remember just going, oh, I know that, and it always takes me out the film a little bit, like, because I'm then just thinking of something else. That's not the film's fault. I just, that's just something.
But what I was trying to say was like, so I have no problem with this film being 3 hours because I love living in this world. But what I do think, the plot itself doesn't justify the length. Does that make sense? So I'm more than happy to watch the film. And I wasn't bored whatsoever. But when it was all wrapped up, what the Riddler was doing, I don't think it justified that 3 hours. Whereas I felt The Dark Knight, on the other hand, it's a bit shorter, only by like 20 minutes or whatever.
But 20 minutes is a lot when you're talking about that length of film.
Like, I'll say this now, in terms of a Batman film, this might be my favourite Batman film, but it's not my favourite film with Batman in it. Okay. I think The Dark Knight is a better film. Yeah,
I think The Dark Knight's a better film. But I think truly it's my favourite Batman. I think really liked Robert Pattinson's Batman. Like more, and like I felt like the characters, like, again, like Riddler, Catwoman, and Robert Pattinson, I just thought were brilliant. Like, that was my favourite thing about it. I came out going, it's not as good as Dark Knight, but Christopher Nolan did make Dark Knight, so but same thing as you're saying, really. I have mixed feelings on the runtime stuff. I think the story was a little bit, it just sometimes, because it was so long, I was kind of like, the story isn't as smart as it thinks it is.
Well, they spend an hour trying to figure out who the winged rat is or whatever.
I got so fucking tired.
As soon as I read that clue, I was like, well, it's a bat, isn't it?
It's a bat, yeah. I think it's anyone else not think that. Like,
it's like Batman did not think that. Like, the world's greatest. I mean, I did like how the Penguin takes the piss out of him. Oh, the world's
me too.
greatest detective. But it's like,
there was such a weird cut when they're interrogating the Riddler. Sorry, they're interrogating Penguin, and then he says something to them about how he can't speak Spanish or something. Like, what do you think the Riddler can't fucking speak Spanish? And there's a cut when they're now like on like Batman's iPad or something. And I thought they had left, and then they're standing there, just both of them like crouched around this iPad talking to the Riddler, and then Penguin's still behind them. I thought it was such a weird comical setup. Like,
there's some weird pacing bits, and some there's a bit where Batman does some dumb things. And I understand he's supposed to be like, this is early in his career,
sure,
and stuff like that. And the bit where he's gliding. A lot of people have issues with the way he has that squirrel suit, which I didn't hate. I quite like that. I thought it was weird how it goes over him though. Like, when he presses a button and it kind of like. But I like the fact that he smacks his head. But it made me laugh when he gets up and he just runs into an alleyway. And then the next scene, he's back on the rooftop with, and I'm like, hang on a minute, how has he smacked his head off a bridge and now he's okay? I don't know.
I literally saw this. I saw this with Paul, guest Paul, and in the
guest
cinema.
Paul, is that his name?
Frequent guest Paul Naden.
A frequent guest Paul, yeah.
But then when he smacks his head off that bridge, I burst out laughing in the cinema. I couldn't help it. I burst out fucking laughing.
But I have a feeling it's meant to be funny.
No one else did. I did. Like, I don't know. I thought it was meant to be. I think a lot of this is meant to be funny.
Like the thumb drive and some of the bits and stuff.
I think Jeffrey Wright is doing one of the most funniest performances ever on film. Like, he's doing something comedic with his like Jim Gordon. Just because he's a weird guy, I think. But yeah, and I burst out fucking laughing, and then Paul laughed because I laughed so loud. So like, I just felt like I was sitting in this cinema ruining, everyone else's good time.
But we're like that. Like, when we watched the Rise of Skywalker, I think we were the only ones laughing throughout the whole film.
I mainly laughed as well because he jumps off the building and then it turns to a Francis Bourgeois head camera shot, and I'm like, you can't put that in a film. Why you can't do that? You can't just put a GoPro shot.
Well, at least it doesn't have those big droopy eyes and the big alien head.
I did find that quite cool. I just thought it was it looked weird, and that was one of the things I was like, oh, maybe I would have redone that, but it probably cost you too much money to redo that. So
the bit that irked me the most though was like they're at a funeral, and then this like a DA agent is like a bomb strapped to him. Not DA agent, but like the district attorney or whatever. He's got a bomb strapped to his neck. And like he crash lands into this funeral service and stuff. And Batman comes in and he's like looking at the bomb around his neck, and he's looking at the timer going down. And he's like right in his face, and he's looking at the timer as it's going down to like 1 second. Like, Batman, why haven't you moved? And then he gets blasted by the bomb. And then he wakes up in a prison cell, and in like not a prison cell, but interrogation
hospital,
room.
Just
they haven't taken his mask off. He hasn't got any charring around his face. I'm like, hang on, what?
He would have the biggest amount of brain damage. I know you shouldn't pick that stuff apart, but it's just so funny. That was another laugh for me, actually, when he crashes into the funeral, and then there's a time cut. And it just cuts to a little robot going towards the DA with the phone. And I burst out laughing at this little robot just heading slowly towards this man. But I don't know if that was meant to be funny, but it made me laugh.
I don't know if you noticed though, but there are a lot of things that happen in this film that happen in the Dark Knight trilogy. And I don't know if that's just because a lot of it's just how these films would play out anyway, like a Batman film would anyway. But
Yeah,
a lot
sure.
of things that are very similar, like a district attorney being killed, like it happens to Maggie Gyllenhaal, it happens to a guy in the Batman Begins, Harvey Dent obviously gets blown up, and there's lots of similar things that happen in these films that there's that fight in the nightclub, there's a big fight in the Dark Knight as well in the nightclub, like with techno music going on and stuff like that.
That was another thing that made me laugh. The first time he comes into the nightclub and he's just marching through as Batman, and someone like pushes like a shotgun in his face, and he kind of like he does some weird like move to make the shotgun blow off somewhere else, and it made me laugh. Like,
why weren't those two twins called Tweedledum and Tweedledee? Why didn't he reference? Why didn't he just call them that, just like as a joke? Because they should have been. But...
It's oh no, my brain's gone dead. Yeah, I felt a little bit of like attrition on Batman and the Italian crime bosses stories a little bit. I know that it's an intrinsic part of like Batman. You always introduce the mob bosses, and then eventually they become wilder, and you get like, I know that's how you craft a Batman universe, but I just did feel like the Nolan films are so much about the fucking crime bosses and the machinations of the law and stuff, that when it kind of got into all that, I was a little bit like, I kind of feel a little sold out on this already, like just a touch. I guess one of my only criticisms, really, but it was still good. I still liked it, and the other thing I really hated. So you got the introduction of the Batmobile is fucking awesome in this film. Yeah.
Does he stall it, by the way, or do you think he's doing it to intimidate?
Me and Paul had this fucking conversation. Me and Paul both said that. Like, I was like, did he stall it? That was weird. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
But it's like what you were saying earlier. There's a few things that happen that kind of don't make sense, and it's like,
are they meant to be funny? Are they meant to be different? Or yeah. And then I really think the car chase is incredibly badly shot.
It's because do you know why? There's no master shot.
Yeah, there's no master.
So you can't see the geography of what's going on.
I had no idea where everyone was in this. I had no idea the space between them, or if Penguin was getting away, or how Batman was doing and avoiding cars. And I had no idea what was going on, because it was all just like these weird, like someone basically watched, like Chinatown.
Yeah.
and didn't take
French Connection.
The French Connection, and took the wrong sort of elements for the car chase.
There's some great shots in there, like really.
There are.
But like if you look at the Nolan films, I'm sorry to keep bringing them up, but you have to, because the most recent Batman films, and they're hugely successful. But like, and a lot of people like criticize Nolan for his fight scenes, fair enough, but you cannot fault his action scenes. Like,
No.
like if you watch his tumbler chases in the first one and the second one, they're amazing and they're so well done. Yeah, they're stupid. He's like driving on rooftops or whatever, but like at least you can see where Batman is in relation to the police and stuff like that. Whereas in this, it's so dark and you just got red lights going everywhere, and you're like going, "Well, I don't get what's going on."
Yeah, and
I'm sure he killed a lot of people in trying to get someone who. Yeah, I'm sure the Penguin has done a lot of shitty things, but he actually wasn't guilty of being the rat.
Yeah, and this story at all. It's there's the same thing went through my head when I was watching it. I was really enjoying it, and then it cut to this car chase, and I did think to myself, I wish Nolan was shooting this car chase. I did even think about that, because I was just like, oh god, this is shot badly. And like the end of the chase is really cool, like Penguin's upside down, you got that fire explosion and Batman coming out of like the fire. That's really cool, a really kind of evocative shot. And again, something happens in this film which is fucking weird. They could just cut, but then they had Batman come right up to the screen and then peer down, like peer down, like kind of a weird angle of his face.
Just of him in silhouette walking upside
down.
down.
There was a perfect moment to cut this, and then they leave in the weird little section of at the end that made it kind of oddly comical to me.
But I do like some of the choices that they. Leaving some of these scenes a bit longer, because it does make it a bit odd, and I kind of like it's a little bit off kilter. I
do agree. I think you're right there. There's something about it.
I had a dream when I think it was in between The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. I had a dream that they made a Batman film that was totally unconnected, and it was a very weird film. And we're now living in a time where this dream has become a reality, where we're in between Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton still being Batman, and we've got this oddity of a Batman film.
This weird film.
Which I really, really, really like. I wouldn't say I love, but I really, 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 really like it, because in terms of cinematography, I think it's the same guy who did Dune, and
it's gorgeous. Yeah,
it looks amazing, and
yeah, it does.
I just love the world. Like I've said it before, but I just love how they realised Gotham in it. I think
one of my things I said to Paul when we were leaving the cinema actually was that I kind of realised halfway through this is that I'm not bothered how good this film is or not. Like it's Batman to me has kind of morphed into almost Bond, and it's like, right, every 4 years we'll get a Batman film. Doesn't matter who's directing it, doesn't matter who's starring in it. It's going to be a number of Batmans around or whatever. It's just going to be another Batman film, and maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't like it, but it doesn't actually matter. It does, because there's just going to be another Batman film, and they'll learn things and try different stuff and reintroduce different characters.
That's cool, though. I quite like that, though.
No, this is absolutely positive. That's what I mean. This is this was a huge positive to me for it. Like going, I like that. This can be a thing. I like that we're just now doing this with Batman, and it makes sense to do it with Batman. You know, like it makes sense to be less precious about the character, and I think that's just really good fun. And that's why I came out of this going, it wasn't my favorite Batman film. I like a lot of this stuff, like what you're saying, like the kind of world they're crafting. I love the Batman himself. I think is a really, really good Batman. I'm excited for them doing more of this, I think. What
did you think of his costume? Do you like his batsuit?
I like how bulky he was, and kind of how weirdly kind of like aggressive he is. Like I love how like he's not like finessed. He's just he just punches people in the face really hard with like iron fists. Basically, is his move.
Because I actually love his suit. I was going to open up this discussion by, like, I was going to say to you, what do you think I thought of this film? And then I was going to say, well, I'll tell you what happened. Like, so do you know what Hot Toys are?
Yeah.
They're really expensive. Like, they're almost statues, but they're action figures, but they're like all clothed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, as a toy aficionado, I have a toy dealer who gets me my toys, but he gets me them at a discounted rate.
Okay.
But the problem is he's like a proper pusher, and like the day the Batman came out, he sent me this image of this Hot Toy, Robert Pattinson Batman, and it looks incredible. And he goes, do you want it? I can get it for this price for you if you want it. And I said, look, let me watch the film first, because that will determine. I love the look of it, but if I don't like the film, I don't particularly want it. I mean, I was very excited for this film anyway, so it'd have to be really bad for me not to like it. But then as soon as I stepped out of the cinema, I messaged him and I was like, bye. But the only thing I find weird is his gauntlets look massive. His gloves,
they do look massive.
They look a bit bulky, and I think it's because his grapple guns come from inside of his gloves. Yeah, and then those weird spears are his ammo, his grapple things. I don't know.
I like how Batman spent so much time on this on a dirt bike. That's my favorite.
He modifies it though. It becomes a bit more bat-like.
It does, yeah. I just like the fact that he had a drag racer and a dirt bike as his two little things.
But also, I think this film is set over a week period. It's it starts off at Halloween and it ends on the 5th of November.
Okay.
And in that time, the Batmobile is in pieces at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then somehow he's had the time to put it all together.
I do like the suit. I do like this. Like it was saying, it was just it just felt solid. It felt heavy. It felt cumbersome. It felt really, really tactile. More than the other suits have before, I think. It's less flashy and much more.
Yeah, it's not as overly designed. Because I know there's a lot of people. I don't know if you're the same, but some people want a more comics accurate. So they, Ben Affleck had one at one point, didn't he? That was kind of like Frank Miller costume, but some people now want the blue and grey costumes and that. But I kind of like this kind of more tactical looking Batman. As long as he's got the horns, the logo, the cape, and the belt, I'm happy. And I'm quite happy that they didn't. I don't know if it's in a book or something, but they didn't talk about that the bat symbol were the guns that killed his parents and stuff. They didn't go into any of that. They didn't mention that. So it made it a bit, because I was worried he was going to be quite edgelordy, and Batman didn't come across that way for me anyway. Maybe a little. He
came across as a fucking psychopath.
Yeah,
and
but
I liked that. That's the kind of harking back to almost Tim Burton, in the fact that Tim Burton's Batman, Bruce Wayne, was just a fucking lunatic who just sat in a room staring at the sky, waiting for that's all he sat in a dark room staring. That's all he does with his time, and
with his
and this was the same with this. He was very just really single focused, single minded, just really not a nice guy to be around.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I do really like that about that Batman. And what I really, really like about this Batman is the whole film really is about the fact that he's learning that he needs to be a symbol of hope, and he needs to be actually trying to help people rather than being about vengeance, which thank fucking God they're finally saying this, frankly, because it's the arc of every Batman comic, basically. And so what I really like about this is it's the first Batman world I can imagine Robin being in, film world. And I can imagine them putting Robin in the next film, and it will feel fine because of what they did in this setup. I think if there's at the beginning of the film, he on the train, he fights those thugs that have all got the kind of skull makeup.
What from
and one of the
Batman Forever, just minus
yeah. And one of them runs away. The guy who runs away, he plays Tim Drake in Teen Titans, I think.
Is it the same guy?
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. So for me, I was quite excited by that, saying I could see that kid being Robin. I could see that kid being Robin in the next film.
Someone was I was chatting with someone and they were talking about there's the mayor's kid.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, is that a Robin setup? I was like, no, that's just Bruce seeing himself in this other child. It's kind of it's the way of doing the origin without doing the origin.
Yes, and it's the way of Bruce seeing the fact that he's not solving anything. I
can't imagine that kid that you were talking about, the one that was half the face, he wasn't fully initiated or whatever into this gang. I can't imagine them using him as Robin. I'd feel like they'd properly introduce a younger character. So
I think they will. Yeah, I think they will properly introduce it. It felt like that kind of world to me. It just watching it, I felt like that kid could be a a Robin in this world, and it would feel fine. I don't think they will use that kid, but it just felt right to me, and it just feels like I can imagine this Batman taking on a Robin. I can imagine a younger character as well, like a younger kid being Robin, not like them aging up ridiculous or anything. And it feels right for this world, even though this world is so like twisted and dark and like odd, and Batman's barely kind of conscious as a human. I can just imagine this world actually having a Robin in it, and that's exciting for me because it feels like a proper Batman. It feels like they could do like, you know, Bat family stuff in this world, and I think that's kind of exciting to me, really.
Yeah, because I've seen people complain about the fact that he's quite one note as Batman and Bruce, but like you said, I quite like that because you had Bale who kind of, he purposely chose to do the three sides of Batman, didn't he? Like Bruce Wayne, the real Bruce Wayne, and then Batman. Whereas this is like Batman is his only like entity at this point in time. Whereas I think you up.
No, go on, it's fine.
But when you get to the second one, I think he'll start to realise that Bruce has to also play a part in Gotham and like help out on another front. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think you're right, and I think one of the criticisms
because we're in an age now where films you don't get an arc in one film now. You have to.
No, exactly.
You know, with Christopher Nolan, he did the full arc in one film. Yeah. Whereas now they're planning an arc that lasts 3+ movies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's hard to judge it on the scale that films used to come out, like how they used to be made, because it's a lot more serialized now.
Exactly. We didn't get Batman going to a gala in this film, but we will get Bruce Wayne going to a gala.
Oh yeah,
because that's important to the world of Batman. Galas. But I prefer that. I like the fact that we can see that progression with it. I don't like the idea that Batman's the real one and Bruce Wayne's I don't like all that stuff. I just like it being it's one person who code switches. Basically, it's not there's not different elements. It's still, and I like the fact that they're dealing this person as one person. Just because he sits with the mask off, listening to his Nirvana covers, doesn't mean that like he's a different person. He's still the same twisted, weird fucking guy that you wouldn't really want to hang out with a lot because he's not very nice. He's not very exciting. He's really fucking angry. He wouldn't make a good person to kind of make friends with. I like that. I love that for the character right now. I think that really works for me. And this, I want to say my favorite part of it, really. And I like how you just grew with him through it. And right at the end, he's in daylight, which is always weird putting Batman in daylight. It's very like Batman 66, but he's in daylight helping like people on top of the roof of Gotham, whatever they call the stadium in this. Was it Gotham Square Garden or something?
Yeah, pretty much. What did you think to the end? Did you like the ending or?
Yeah, I actually really did. I actually really did.
A lot of people hate because people go, the when he uses like people say it's Bane, but it's Venom. Sorry, but it's not Venom. It's just like
it's just some adrenaline or something. Yeah,
and then but it's green. I'm like, yeah, it's probably green just so it shows up on camera, so you can kind of see there's something in it. I don't know.
And whatever if it's Venom, fine. It's a comic book movie.
But
you were saying it's the most comic book world that exists, and you're right.
I'm honestly surprised there weren't blimps in the sky. And
yeah, same. Honestly, I'm surprised there wasn't like a blimp crash that Batman had to save someone from. Like, this is totally like this kind of world they've made.
I'll tell you what I really like. You can tell they used the volume in this. You know, the thing they used to film The Mandalorian where...
Oh, yeah.
You know, so when they're on rooftops and stuff, they're actually... The city is there for them, so all the lighting and stuff is all natural lighting. It's like... Well, it's not natural because it's still a CGI rendered city, but like... so obviously whenever they move the camera, the parallax, the background there's a parallax with the background and stuff. And I thought it looked really good.
I thought it looked fantastic, yeah.
But what did you think of the use of Nirvana in it?
Kind of funny.
Because I thought it was just the trailer thing, because I thought, we've done this theme song.
Same.
And it kind of rhythmically works with something in the way, so we'll just use it for the trailer, like a lot of trailers use pop songs and stuff.
Yeah,
but I quite liked it in it. But again, I thought it was funny, but I liked it.
It's just another one of those funny moments that like they're playing this music in the film, and then Alfred walks in and he leans over to turn it off, and it was that moment I realised it was meant to be what Bruce Wayne's listening to. Yeah. I'm like, that just I'm like, what? Like, and so. But whatever. I just found there's just so many little things in this film that I thought were just. That seems funny to me, and I don't know if the director thought it was funny or if it's just me that thinks it's funny.
Like he's got like the way he records, like when he's out, he records on his little contact lenses
and then sits back and watches them.
Watches it back.
I know, fucking creep.
But I kind of liked how he was when he's around the police. He's kind of a bit awkward.
Yeah.
And apparently,
Same.
like he was trying to play it like he was a shaman or something, like kind of. And I like the fact that he doesn't actually kind of like go down with like a magnifying glass looking around, but he's like observing, and whenever he looks at something, then the forensics on, oh, I didn't notice that big bit of blood.
I really liked that. I liked the fact that the forensic people were watching what he looked at, and then they were copying him. I thought that was really fun. I like him being in crime scenes. I think people have overplayed the kind of detective work in this because it's not really,
yeah, because like we said, like he got a few of the riddles, but he didn't get the most obvious one.
Yeah, you didn't get ballpoint banana.
No,
and then it was there were a couple of like,
the funniest riddle, sorry, was when Batman's looking at the carpet, you know, the carpet buffer thing, and the carpet is like, oh, my brother-in-law is a carpet fitter. He's like, oh my god, it's a riddle.
It's so cartoony in a way I like. That's kind of what I like about it. That it's just this weird cartoony world.
People think it. I do wonder though. Are kids gonna like this film? Because like I went to the toy shop and I bought the the McFarlane, the Batman and the Batbike. But they do like a kiddie version, like where they're like kind of, you know, Star Wars figure size, so like 3 inches or whatever. And you got the bike and the car and stuff like that, and Wayne Manor and stuff. Like, but what? I say this, but I was a kid that had all the Alien and RoboCop figures and watched all those.
Kids were like this because it would feel like, you know, they're watching an adult film.
And
it's
think
Batman.
so,
yeah. It was like I'm watching a proper adult. This is a film that adults love, kind of thing. I think that it will be that kind of fascination, which was the same for us for certain things. Like,
but it's funny like talking to you about it now, and we're both saying how ridiculous it is, but we both really enjoyed it. But a lot of people, I think, are taking it really seriously.
Yeah, I think once I relaxed into it, I relaxed into it. I wouldn't, because as I say, I gave this like 4 stars. I think is fair. Like for me, I could probably be taught more, maybe on a rewatch. But 4 stars, I think, is really fair for this because I don't think it's wonderful, but I really like so much about it.
Yeah.
So I think it sits in that kind of era. There's the weird things like I hated the fucking cop thing, like that. I hated how like. So when like they march Falcone out of the building and it's like,
and they're all standing there, yeah.
He's like, I own all you, and Jim Gordon's, you don't own all of us, kind of thing. That's so much more powerful if it's just Jim. It doesn't need to be this bullshit that actually all these nice cops are here.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you are all fucking corrupt. Like, of course you're all fucking corrupt because you knew everyone was doing this. Like, you knew that there was this corruption in the police force. You don't just get to have that hero fucking moment. And that really got on my nerves, especially with the stuff that we're dealing with, like with the Met in this country and stuff. Just wrong time to do this kind of shit in a movie, this cop kind of propaganda crap. And so that really got to me. And it's so much better if it was just Jim, because Jim being the fucking weirdo, the weirdo who trusts this Batman, you know, like who's against all the other cops. It makes so much more sense if that's just a little thing between him and Batman doing this. And I thought that really took it out to me, and I didn't just really pissed me off, to be honest.
I never really thought about that, to be honest. That didn't really.
I guess it just worked for me for some reason. And the other thing is when he finds out that the kind of charity fund that his father set up was being abused, he doesn't actually fucking do anything about it or take any note of that or anything. He just goes, oh, that's been abused. He doesn't take steps, as you say, there's a 5-hour version out there or something, but he doesn't seem to take steps to actually fix that, and that would actually play with the plot. That was important for the plot of him doing that. I'm
pretty sure that's taken from the Telltale video game.
Oh, okay.
and then also the fact that his mom was, you know, she had like issues and stuff like that, and the fact that she's an Arkham. Because I'm sure she was originally she had a different surname in the books. It was Martha. Okay. What's Batwoman's surname? Kane. I'm sure it was like Barbara Kane, Martha Kane or something like that. But anyway, I'm pretty sure like one of the recent, I think it may have been Earth 2 again or Earth 1 or whatever that book is, that they retconned it that she was part of the Arkham family, and then also when they did the that weird one where where Bruce died, but then Thomas Wayne became the Batman. Then they made it that because she was from the Arkham family, that the mom became the Joker.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing. Yeah,
You
I
not read
remember
that
that now.
Do you remember that?
I thought like the other thing with this kind of the trust fund being abused, I think folding Bruce Wayne into the Riddler's plot might be a mistake. I think that is the roughest part of the film for me, when the Riddler's trying to kill Bruce Wayne. I think it muddles the story a little too much, which actually, if you cut that out, you actually streamline the movie a little bit more. Like he can be obsessed with Thomas Wayne, but not be obsessed with Bruce Wayne, if you know what I mean. It made no sense.
Well,
and
there's a book that came out, and you should never have to have a book that explains what happens in the film. But there's this book that came out and explains that the Batcave is like a subway station that's under Wayne Tower, Wayne Manor, and it's how Thomas Wayne got from his house to his work without having to deal with going out in the public. And that's why the Batcave is like a subway station with train carts and stuff like that. And then, but also, I don't know if this is made clear either in the film, but when they go to the orphanage, that is Wayne Manor. Okay. And so that had been turned into an orphanage, and apparently there was like paintings like all over the wall of Bruce.
Oh, so that's what it's meant to be.
The idea is the Riddler, or Edward Nashton, he keeps seeing this symbol of Bruce Wayne as this kind of like this symbol of a rich kid that has it all, and he is envious of it or whatever. And I guess that's what he's the only one that's still alive out of the Wayne, so that's where he's fixating his. Yeah,
it's just I found it a little, and the problem I had with it is because it leads to a really dumb part of the film when Riddler's doing all these incredibly like intricate kind of like kills that are making statements, and then to kill Bruce Wayne he sends a bomb for the post that Bruce Wayne would never pick up his mail, and it wasn't like some masterful fucking, it's like Riddler just like ran out of time and shopped it in that day and thought I'd just post a bomb to him. It was so silly compared to how every other kill in that movie is so intrinsically designed by like a mastermind, and then this one's like, oh, just post him a bomb. Oh, what, it didn't kill him? Oh, like it was so dumb. Like I just thought like that needs a rewrite, and it was just they put it all into thinking they're going to kill Alfred, and it happened 1 hour ago, so you have to have the maid in because it happened 1 hour ago and she has to answer the phone. Just all that kind of, that all gets tied up in together just by having it Bruce Wayne tied into it. And I know I've seen this as well, a lot of people are really confused because the Riddler doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but so many people have come out of this film thinking that he did, and just missing.
I thought it was pretty obvious that he doesn't.
I thought so too, but I keep seeing it everywhere that people have got misread the kind of ending in like that happens, and I think it's just a product of this being 3 hours and trying to do one of these twisty turny kind of narratives that people are just getting a little bit lost in names and records and sins of the father and all stuff, like all manner of the rest of it and stuff. It's so funny that he wants to figure out the riddle, so he writes "sins of my father?" on the floor.
Well, I thought when he does that whole thing on the floor, and I thought that was him going to figure the whole thing out. And he figures
nothing out.
But it's not. He just draws on the floor and just looks at things, and then he's like, then I think Catwoman starts talking to him on the,
and then I'm like,
on the contact
and
lens
I couldn't
phone.
stop thinking. I was like, do you know, like, the maid's still here, Bruce? Like,
like, it's there's a lot of stupid things in this film. With a bit of a rewrite, could have, which I'm surprised they didn't, because they shot like a good 20% of it before.
Yeah, it's one of those weird films that actually took a proper break. It would have given
them a little bit of time to kind of iron it out and figure out some stuff.
It's weird.
But like I said, I was so happy with how, well, the cast I thought was amazing, the look and the sound of it. And for me, I know this sounds a bit fickle, but that might be enough, because
I get it.
I just felt like I was in the world of Batman, and I just loved
I get it.
that
That's
world.
Exactly what I was saying about the Bond thing.
I just think the writing took
like
just the writing needed a bit more of a.
It's just one of those things when a film is presenting itself as like a mystery and a really smart film, you start thinking about it more. you start giving it more brain
And
power.
when it's 3 hours long, you expect it to
a
have
bit more to it. You give it that more brain power to
yeah.
it, and it means that you unravel it a little bit, you know. And I think that's just what I started doing in the cinema a little bit, which I don't like to do, but I think it's just sometimes the film presents like a puzzle to you, and so you just start thinking about it more than I would have if it was like an Aquaman film, you know.
Do you know one of my biggest gripes as well, though, with the film? I think I've got 4 of them. I've already spoken about 3 of them. The fourth, though, is they shouldn't have introduced the Joker.
I was going to ask you about this.
Because
it doesn't need
I think
it.
For me, the Joker is a character that I think if you're to put that in the film, the actor should be given a whole film to figure out who his Joker is and what he is and all that kind of stuff. You can't just give a guy one scene.
A little cameo scene.
And like they say, he's not the full Joker, but they keep saying that about everyone. They're not.
I know, yeah, right.
Full Catwoman.
Like, come on, at some point, can we just have a character?
Yeah, just like. But apparently there was a scene they cut out where Batman goes to visit someone a bit like Hannibal Lecter to kind of figure out something about the Riddler, and it was Barry. Is it Barry Keoghan? Or yeah. Every podcast I listen to about the Batman, they're always like Barry Keoghan, Barry Keoghan, Barry Keoghan. Yeah, they say it phonetically or whatever. And it's like, no, it's definitely not that. I mean, I thought you might know, being of Irish descendant.
I mean, I am, but I'm fucking not very good at speaking anything like that. I'm not good with my names. Come on, you hear me all the time mispronouncing everything in this podcast.
Like, I think he's a fantastic actor. Like, you know, Killing of a Sacred Deer and, you know, Green Knight and Dunkirk. You know, he's perfect
so funny
choice for
in
Joker,
Dunkirk,
in my opinion. What, he just falls over and becomes blind. I'm blind.
There's a line, I can't remember what the line is now. There was something that we kept on repeating to us from Dunkirk.
Is it the stars in his like?
I just see the stars. He's a good choice. He's a good choice.
I think
he is.
I think he'll be a great Joker, but I just wish they held it.
Yeah,
back.
it didn't add anything to the film. It wasn't like,
you know, they filmed scenes with him as a police detective to throw people off the scent and all these comics, and like
it didn't add anything whatsoever. That's what I didn't like about it. And it was I'm already sitting there for 30 fucking hours. And now I'm sitting there with this stupid cameo, and I'm like, I don't need this. This isn't helping anything. This isn't pushing plot forward. And now they're saying like, oh, by the way, he's not actually the Joker, and he's not going to be in the next film. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is the point of this shit then? Like, why do this if you're not actually building to stuff?
They did it best in the Batman Begins. Did the best with the Joker card, because it's straight from year one, and that's like the perfect little
Joker
tease,
card was the biggest thing to ever happen in cinema. When that happened, like,
I think I looked at it, like, oh my god,
the fucking audience react. Even in England, when audiences do not react, like, that was such a huge reaction from audiences, and not even at like midnight showings. People were so fucking blown away by that tease. And I guess they're trying to do a similar thing with this, but it was just too fucking talky and too fucking like we're talky without saying or showing anything. It should have been cut. It should have been just cut out of the film.
What would you give it then out of 5?
Well, I said already, I gave it 4 stars. I might have bumped that up from 3.5. I was between 3.5 and 4 when I came out of the cinema. 3.5 sounds too low, so I think 4's comfortable to me. Because 3.5 sounds like I've got shitloads of problems with it and I didn't enjoy it, when that's actually not true. It's just there was things about it that I didn't think the flow of the film was very good at times. I thought it moved weirdly. I thought timing was off on it, and I think some of the story things kind of weren't as smart as it was doing. But like, generally, I love the characters, I love the actors in it, I love the casting, I love the end with Catwoman, the motorcycle chase, the way they left that character,
the little cat and mouse
the way they left that character interaction and stuff sat really well with me. I kind of, when it just became like a bunch of like fascists shooting at people in a stadium was a bit weird to me, but I was so excited about Batman saving the day that like it worked for me when it finally came to it. And
they almost play it out like he's gonna like sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of underplayed straight away when he cuts the wire with the electricity. I thought he was going to do a moment like in the Batman Arkham games where you fire the Batarang and you have to remote control the Batarang.
yeah.
And you have to then catch some electricity and then you hit a switch to with the electricity still on your Batarang. I thought it was going to do something like that.
It's a weird Batarang as well. I want more Batarang action. I think I've heard other people say
Well, it's from his chest, isn't it? Because he uses it to cut the door open.
Yeah. I want him throwing more Batarangs. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Just because I like Batman throwing a Batarang, that's all.
It's good. I mean, it's called a Batarang.
Yourself?
Yeah, I'd give it 4 kapows out of 5, I think.
Pow!
But like, I probably could go up a bit because, like I said, like, just love that world that they've created for it. But I am concerned that they're going to overdo it with all these TV series and stuff. And
I enjoyed Penguin in this. I really don't care.
But I did like Penguin, like you said. So
but I don't care about the Penguin TV show. I just maybe I'll see a trailer and be like, actually, this has got something to it. But just from reading reports from it, I'm like, I don't really care. I think like this doesn't feel like exciting to me. It's not. After watching this movie, it wasn't what I wanted to see afterwards. Was that so? We'll see.
Well, I was hoping. I was kind of intrigued by the GCPD show.
Yeah.
Just because I thought if they had it about a rookie cop or something like that, who's like experiencing Batman for the first time or something, and like, I thought it'd been cool, like if he just cameos like in two episodes here and then, just in a crime scene or on a rooftop and stuff. And you don't have to see him fully. He could just be like a young cop, kind of like seeing him.
Yeah. And
it could be about this cop, like, is he being swayed one way or the other and stuff like that. It didn't have. I don't know. I thought that could have been like an interesting take.
It's more the presence of Batman rather than it being a Batman thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was hoping the other show was going to be about, but it wasn't that.
No, it wasn't that slightest.
But yeah. All right. So what are we going to talk about next time then when we're back?
Oh, sorry. My brain went dead then because I was going to say something else about Batman and then I completely forgot what I was going to say about Batman. Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, just a couple of more things. The whole time I was watching it, I really wanted Hush to be in it. Like, it just...
Well, I thought Hush appears in one of the clues or something.
Yeah, there is he writes Hush at some point, and I actually got excited.
Thought, oh, okay.
Like, fuck, they're doing Hush. Like, I know Hush has got mixed reception over the years, but I think this Riddler owns so much to the Hush character, like that arc.
Yeah.
That I was just really expecting it, especially because it was all about Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne as characters, as like their sins, and that's all what Hush is about like that kind of past and history and stuff. I mean, it must have played part of the writing of this, but I was really expecting Hush to be in this.
I guess for people who don't know who Hush is, he's like, isn't he Thomas Elliot, who's like a friend of Bruce Wayne, and he kind of surgically changes his face to look. He's a plastic surgeon. Yeah. He changes himself to look like Bruce Wayne, basically.
And he starts like interfering with his life and stuff like that, and it ends up being like a huge plot with Riddler and things. They're interconnected.
I'm pretty sure when they did the Hush animated film, the Riddler is Hush.
Okay.
So they completely changed it.
But I really was expecting it, especially because like he kept on wrapping people's heads as well. You know, like in the kind of duct tape the same way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There was so much allusion to it, and I was like, this could be Hush. That'd be really kind of fun, but it wasn't. But it was just that excitement where you could get on screen like another Batman character that isn't the fucking 5 they always do. Really actually excited me.
I'm surprised they didn't do the Court of Owls or something, because that's been a big thing.
I think we're going there. I think it's going to be Court of Owls going to be in these films. I think it almost feels inevitable to me that they're going to do that.
I mean, do you think they will go full on? Do you think how far in terms of the Batman character, like Rogues Gallery, will they go? Do you think they would end up doing like some of the more fantastical ones, like a Clayface or something, or do you think they'll kind of keep it more pulpy?
I think
so you get your two.
I expect the next film will have Two-Face in it. I think.
Do you think so?
I think we're going that angle. I think we're doing that stuff again. We're doing what, we're kind of doing what.
The tried and tested.
The tried and tested. Bane will be in this. I think No Man's Land basically is the end of this. I can imagine Bane fitting into that story.
Yeah.
I think Two-Face will fit into it because it's all about the kind of who the new DA will probably be Harvey Dent. So
but then we're getting into it's very much like the Dark
that's
Knight
what disappoints me.
But then
That's
again,
why I'm going to temper my expectation.
But that's the only way you can do Two-Face, really,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, it's who he is. Like,
that's exactly who he is, yeah. And they did it perfectly. And I mean, I guess you could do it. No, they did it perfectly in The Dark Knight. I don't know how you top that. But they're trying Joker again. So, but I don't think Joker's going to be in the next film. They've already said he probably won't be. So
I reckon he'll be in it, but I don't think he'll be. I think there'll be a lot of things in Arkham, so I think you'll see him now and again in Arkham.
Yeah, I think he'll set up for
Same
like a
with Paul
third film
Dano.
is what they're doing for that.
Yeah, like they'll do some sort of. I wonder if they'll end up doing like a film which is predominantly set in Arkham, like we were talking
Maybe.
about. So they're all in there, like because like Arkham, was it what's Strange Place on a Strange Earth? What's it? The graphic
Yes.
novel.
I can't remember the name, but
I wonder
yeah.
if they'd go that route of just doing a completely batshit crazy
It's
tutu wearing.
I want them to do something different, and I just don't want
High
it to
heel
be
wearing
Joker, Two-Face, Bane, Catwoman, Penguin. Like, I want them to do something different, but we'll see.
I mean, they are the best character. Like they are,
I know, right?
There's a reason why they use them a lot because they're the best ones. But just looking at my wall of Batman figures, I mean, there's a chance Harley Quinn could appear in Arkham, and I don't know.
Scarecrow. I can imagine
again,
Mr.
we've very
Freeze. I can
recently
imagine
had
Mr.
Scarecrow.
Freeze being in this world.
There's a way to do Freeze without having to have him have like a suit that kind of keeps him alive, I guess.
Absolutely. I can imagine him fitting into this world really easy, to be honest. Which might be quite fun. I would love to see a Poison Ivy. I don't know. Like if they would go there, but I would love to see Poison Ivy because I want to see a Poison Ivy Harley, frankly.
Yeah. I'm surprised she wasn't in the Birds of Prey movie, if I'm honest.
Yeah, same.
That was a big missed opportunity. But
Yeah, it really was. I can't imagine them doing something like Mad Hatter. I can't imagine them doing stuff like Catman or
Man Bat.
But I mean, it's the same. It's a shame because stuff like Calendar Man would fit into this universe. Stuff like Calculator would fit into this universe. Clue Master would fit into this. But they almost have morphed Riddler into those characters in the way they've been used in the comic book. So you'd just be using. You'd be using them the same way like you would just use Riddler in future films. So
because Calendar Man was in Suicide Squad, wasn't he?
who was he?
Yeah, James Gunn's brother plays him. He's in. You see him, he's got like the Munsell tattooed around his head.
Oh yeah, sure. But I mean, the same way they use Calendar Man in the same way they use Calendar Man in Long Halloween as like the kind of
the Hannibal Lecter.
Thank you, character. I could have seen him doing in this film, like you said, but it probably would have been Joker.
Well, they did. They shot one with Joker. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah, like you were saying, it probably would have been Joker, but it would have been nice to them to nod to Long Halloween and actually have it as Calendar Man. But Long Halloween's so fucking good, so just watch Long Halloween or read Long Halloween.
Don't watch this animated film.
Anyway, I've rambled on. Sorry, I took us to another tangent.
Yeah, so what are we talking about when we're back again?
I think we're going to be back with All Quiet on the Western Front. I think we've announced this before. So I'll announce it again that we're expecting to do All Quiet on the Western Front next.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, totally.
All right, I haven't done this sign-off in a while, so let's see if I can do it. Well, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back soon with All Quiet on the Western Front. Please don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We are at Adjust Your Track. That's with a YR, not a your. Don't forget to subscribe on whatever you listen to us on, be that Spotify, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts. And yeah, don't forget, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.